Hey kids, happy Thanksgiving. If you celebrate, happy Thursday to everybody else. I tend to stream on the holidays. It's a thing that I do. It's a thing that I do. What can I say? Um, and I didn't do Thanksgiving last year, and I came to regret it in some ways because I like being able to look back each year at what I did the previous year. And this morning I was seeing that just wasn't something that I did, and I was like, I should stream something because we're not going to eat like in my family. We used to eat Thanksgiving dinner like 2 or 3 o'clock at the latest, right? And it was something where, I don't do that anymore, and because we sleep later, frankly, and it's like the bird's not going to take that long to cook because we didn't get anything that big. I have no excuse, basically, not to stream today. So that's why we're here. And hello to Bjorn. Nice to see you. Um, for those of you that might be wondering, no, I'm not using StreamYard or anything that you've probably seen before. I'm using Restream. It's a product I've used for years. In fact, I'm actually good friends with one of the owners, lives here in Texas. I should reach out to them in case they need any help in the back end because they're doing great. And they have a Black Friday sale right now. You can get 50% off an annual subscription, which I went ahead and took advantage of because that represents, half off, right? And I was never this guy, but I've been moving to annual subscriptions on a lot of stuff because when the price is right and I don't have to worry about shit, that's awful nice. So if you do stream or make any kind of content or just want to hang out with your friends and you don't like using Google Meet, for example, or you're sick of StreamYard, they've raised their prices, seriously give Restream a look. It's restream.io. They've always done right by me. The quality is always excellent. It's relatively simple to use. I heartily endorse it. Badger is in the house. Bjorn says they're having ham because to hell with the pigs. I understand. I understand. It's good to see everybody. And while I do have this universal chat system, I still have Chat Ninja here just to show you. Okay. I prefer Chat Ninja over this big bar at the bottom, but I find that the big bar at the bottom works better when you have a bunch of people in. I know Boba Hicks might be hopping in, and a few other folks are certainly welcome. Check your Hangout chats, and pardon me, and you're welcome to come in and say hello. We don't have an agenda today at all. Nothing. I have nothing planned. In 2022, I played video games for a while. I don't want to do that. It's not that engaging. I just want to hang out with you guys because I haven't done a truly live thing in a very long time. I really appreciate all the support that Displaying Our Dysfunction has been getting. That format of the show is going to remain because it's as successful or more successful than the live shows were in the past. So we're going to continue doing that. I may make some tweaks in terms of the actual, like the packaging of the format, like the way it's edited and stuff like that. But beyond that, it's working. I don't believe in trying to fix it. The last episode was recorded early last week, not this past week, but the week before. And I've been meaning to get that edit done. I was waiting for some assets from some of the folks that participated. We ran into some problems getting the files transferred, so I don't think it's going to happen. So now I have to edit it without it. It's coming, and I want to record some more episodes very soon, maybe this weekend. I don't know, because I definitely want to do that. As you can see, probably the room is still not in shape for the videos I want to, like the pre-recorded stuff I want to do, like regular videos, basically. But that's coming too. So we've been busy out here in Grindhead Land. For example, this week we're dog sitting for someone else. He's a handful, but he's a good boy. He's a little guy. So him and Jasper have been hanging out a bit more than Gabby has been hanging out with him. because she is just like, God, he doesn't stop. So Jasper's definitely having fun with him. And I hope everyone is having a great, great day. If the audio is ever weird, if the video is ever weird, please let me know. That way I can make adjustments if I need to. Because that's something I've always said. Streamers don't know what you don't tell them. Okay? Don't assume something's intentional. Like, sometimes it can be annoying if it is something that is intentional, but I would rather be annoyed with something that I'm having to explain something that I mean to be happening than to go a whole stream of someone not tell me that my mic sucks. Oh, Bjorn says his sister's dog came over to him when he said good boy. Well, good boy. That's a very attentive puppy. Very attentive. And happy Thanksgiving to you too, Bill. I hope you're having a great one so far. I started watching some of the parades and I was like, these are not the same as when I grew up. And I contemplated watching an old one. I was like, nah, I'm just going to stream for the boys. I'm going to hang out with some folks and see what's up. So, inexplicably, Dunkin' was open this morning. And I was like, well, I'm going to get some coffee. I don't want to make any. So I did. It's a good thing. Been there, done that? Yeah. I got you, man. I got you. What was I going to say? I don't know how much I've said about this in any of the content on the show or to patrons or whatever. I got to do an update soon because there are some things coming. Towards the end of December, I will be visiting with Lauren's parents. We will be out of town. It includes Christmas Day, so there will not be a Christmas Day stream this year that I'm aware of. Depending upon the timing of when things happen, I might be able to hop on for a little bit through my phone or something. I cannot promise anything, but I will try, because that's a tradition that I haven't broken in 10 years? More, maybe? And my lifestyle has been such that I haven't really had a lot of Christmas obligations during the majority of that time. So, life changes, things happen. Like, we're not even doing a traditional Christmas at home until after we get back, which will be almost New Year's. So it's gonna suck for me personally, because I'm a giddy boy on Christmas. Not just because I'm getting something, but because I love giving gifts. And I put thought into it, and I'm like super stoked on it. It's good stuff. Hey, Alyssa! Good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. I hope all is well. Have you made any cool... I mean, obviously, I see when you post art, but I bet you don't post all your art. So, I hope things are going well for you, and it's really good to see you. Billy Wifta says, my content has changed somewhat. I hope to get back going again after the new year. That's kind of where I'm at, too. I want to do at least... I want to release the episode we last recorded, and I want to release the episode, at least one episode or two before Christmas. In a perfect world, I'll have something out week of Christmas, like Christmas holiday style stuff. But that's kind of the bonus of pre-recording, right? So maybe I will do a Christmas Day stream that is just a pre-recorded thing, but I would feel disingenuous not being in chat for that. So I got to figure out what time everything's going on, and we're going to be there several days ahead of Christmas, so I'll be able to figure it out. And provided that video, that episode exists and is uploaded, I can schedule it with that in mind. So that's good. Hopefully it'll be a good thing. But the big things for me right now are get this room back to a semblance of normalcy. It is approaching that now, but there's still, as you can see, a bunch of stuff I have to mitigate in here, and we've been taking care of a lot of other stuff outside of this room the last couple of weeks. Everything's good. Just figuring things out and trying to relax and enjoy ourselves as much as we can, rather than go, 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 which was the case for a while there. And I'm trying to find that balance, as I think we all are on some level. But we'll see. But I do not want a repeat of this year, where I hit the ground running at the beginning of the year and just fizzled out throughout the course of the year. So I do feel like I really feel like the new format is got legs. I just have to, honestly, even though I hate doing this, I think I'm going to have to schedule the recording to make sure that the videos go out when I want them to. I have to regiment it a little bit. But I will say that recording things ahead of time takes a lot of pressure off of me for the conversation, and then I can always correct things in the edit when I want to. So the only thing that sucks about it is that editing something that's pre-recorded in a group chat like this, it can be a bit of a pain in the dick, I tell you. Billy Wifta asks a question, says, what are my thoughts on the YouTube easy mode videos? Thoughts on the road, last one did better. So you're talking about stream of consciousness, just set the camera and go. I find that just sitting and talking to the camera is very, very easy, right? In fact, the vast majority of my videos are that. So, although I will often edit them, I don't always. So I think they're good when you have a built-in audience that is into that. And it makes videos that are a bit more involved feel a bit more comfortable when you appear on screen, because they're just used to seeing your face. So that's my thought. Like I love vlog in the car style videos for a lot of people. I think every channel that I watch with any regularity has a lot of differences in their format, but they have a specific format they stick to, which I enjoy. So if it's doing well for you, go for it, man. Like enjoy it. Enjoy it. You said you fizzled out in September, after September. Well, the thing is, and we've had this discussion offline, Bill, you were working way too much on YouTube, in my opinion. The amount of time you would be in front of that camera was a bit much. And I think you burned out a little bit, and you're taking some time off to reconfigure and get things the way you want it. And because you hit the goal that you had, you hit that 1,000 subs and everything, and your watch hours, and you're doing great. And I'm really proud of you. So I think you've definitely earned the break, and when you come back, you're going to be good, as you always have been. So, in my case, I just want to get this room to a place where it's basically the depackaged version of what was happening prior, because I had everything up. And again, as you can see, we're close. I got to pull some stuff down, got to put a lot of stuff up, and then once that's done, we're good to go. I got the magnets for the plexiglass panels that I'm going to order here soon. I am going to be getting it very soon. I want to test the magnets first. I just haven't done that. I want to make sure they're going to work, and if they aren't going to work, then I have to either get a different type of magnet, or I have to get Velcro or something. I got to figure out the adhesion before I just have these panels hanging out. But they're going to go all along the bottom, and then probably, like, realistically, and this is kind of my thought process, is as time goes on, I'm probably just going to use YouTube payouts to pay for that stuff. And then after, 4 or 5 applications will be good. Because these shelf distances aren't even, but I think it's 4 of those panels will cover the entire shelf up to the very tippy top. And for those that don't know, that are watching that don't understand what I mean, I am getting these real thin plexiglass sheets, flexible sheets, to cover the fronts of my shelving to protect it from my cat. Believe what this says, I need to get back going on my studio as well. It's way out of hand. I know that feeling, man. I know that feeling. But I will say that from experience now, a little a day, a little something. Whether you have to take something out of a package, move a box, any little tiny bit will help. Not just helping getting it done, but also to help up here that you're still doing things. Like a week, like the last 10 days, I have spent very little time in this room because we've just been so wrapped up with other stuff. Yeah, you like that, huh? Nice pile of boxes. So, what's right here? Basically, most of these are empty, actually, and I gotta consolidate them. So, like for example, with Attorney and Palace Guards, I have a bunch of them, but I only want to keep one box. I got to get all the parts out of it, and then keep one box. And then the same thing with the Skeleton Warrior boxes. And then everything else has got to go up there. I got a second Talon Fighter because they have maintained their lower price. And I'm debating on what to do with it. Because the whole reason I bought it was because the left side skid claw talon on the fighter that came with the one that I bought last year when it came out is actually a righty. It came with 2 right claws. So I bought a cheap one, fished out the replacement, and then, put the other one in. So now I have a Talon fighter that's fully complete and correct. Then I have one that's complete, but it has 2 right feet again. So I don't think anyone's going to buy it, even at a discount price. I don't see it happening because they're so readily available. So I'm debating on just keeping it and using the parapet part of it, like just having another piece of grayskull colored material, right? So I don't know yet. But like everything in the back that you see that's stacked, that little mountain, those are almost all Marvel Legends. And they are one of the next things to get depackaged and get the F out of here. So, yeah, I was at that place. And then Jasper started getting really adventurous around the television. And I knew it wasn't going to be permanent. But what we ended up doing was like blocking off the sides so you couldn't get behind the television and couldn't climb up certain things. And now that he's normalized that and he figured out a way to get in there, now we just have stripped all that away. And when he's behind the TV, he isn't really messing with anything. He's not thank Godzilla, he's not a cable biter. So he's fine now. But we had like this kind of cardboard prison thing set up, which is kind of crazy. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and hear him meowing. Because he found his way in, but he couldn't find his way out because we had done such a good job of boxing him out. No pun intended. So a lot of the boxes we were going to throw away ended up being, cat barricades, if you will. And Squigs, happy Thanksgiving, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Saw you were streaming last night. Popped in for a few seconds and just to see what was up. We were in the middle of something. But things look like they're going good. You still can't get that damn camera to work, huh? You bring that laptop over. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I mean, it's mess. Like there's a ton of boxes of stuff here. Some stuff's got to go out. Some stuff's got to go away. I hate the concept of me keeping the shipper boxes from all the Mattel Creation stuff. But on the same token, they're purpose-built protectors for those collector-friendly cases. So once all those guys and gals are out of those packages, whether or not I get them all out, I got to store them. So Squig says, got bored that fast, eh? No. He said, I think the webcam will work, just haven't tried it again in a while. You lazy ass. Oh, still getting over stream anxiety. I get that. But I will tell you that anxiety's never going to go away in any real format. The thing is, you just got to get used to being on camera. But every time, and I do mean every time I've gone live in the 10, 11 years I've been streaming, almost 12. No, or 12 years technically. It's been nerve-wracking for me. But I enjoy doing it. And once I'm here, it's fine. It works really well. So don't give it up. You're clearly willing to go at it. So just give it a try. What I might recommend is, even if you don't release them, just record some video of yourself and get used to hearing yourself. This week says I stream more often, but I talk myself out of it some nights, trying to be more consistent. Well, the consistency I think really needs to be decide what nights you're going to do it, and then do it on those nights, and then that's that. Something like Jay or Billy, where they, like Billy's a weekend guy, Jay's an all-week guy for the most part. And like I'm a once-a-week guy. Everyone's got kind of their shtick when it comes to their schedule. So my advice would be, honestly, just decide what day works best, or 2 days at most, and stick with those. If people know you're going to be live on a certain day and a certain time, they will show up. I'm telling you that right now. Like we got 8 people in here right now. And I didn't schedule this fucker at all. I didn't talk about it. Nothing. I had to get some stuff taken care of on the old computadora, because I had to restart it and do some updates to things. Again, because I haven't been in there a while. Made a thumbnail and just decided when I was ready to go. And just hit live. And people showed up then, too. Why the thinky face? What the... Are you pondering what I'm pondering? But yeah, dude, I totally get it. The nights that you stream, you just gotta... When you're starting out, it's kind of like, on one hand, it's exhilarating, but it's also nerve-wracking, because you're like, fuck. People might see me. But the fact is, think about it in these terms. You work out and about. You drive from place to place. You're doing stuff outdoors. People see you. Oh, scheduling days to cast. Yeah, that's a thing. And with you as an artist, like that's definitely something that people enjoy. People love watching artists do their work. And some artists will, like every time they're working on a piece or a big piece, like part of their workflow is streaming, because it's a revenue flow for them. It helps keep you company. There's a lot of good positives to doing that sort of a thing. And I think that although there are some challenges when you're doing analog art as opposed to digital in terms of displaying it as you do a live show, nothing wrong with it, but everyone's workflow is different too, right? But it is a thing. It does tend to work, because I think for some people, especially I would say my generation for sure, we remember destination TV. I like having certain things that I know what day it is by what's going on. So for example, like we watch The Challenge religiously, and we know it's Wednesday nights. So even though we may not watch it live, sometimes we do, we don't always, but just knowing that episode is coming, you kind of gauge where you are in the week because of that. So it's a thing. Oh yeah, Bjorn, you're one of the most loyal viewers I've ever had. The most loyal will always be Reznov, because that individual, phew, like, just destroys anybody when it comes to watching everything I did for an extended period of time. But you're getting close. You're getting close, pal. Squig says, yeah, it's another thing is a lack of people some nights, but like you said, people don't know when I'm going live because it's been random. Exactly. So that's the thing, is that it's chicken and the egg, right? So with the chicken and the egg on this is essentially, it's hard to stream when no one's there, but you can't get anyone to show up if you don't stream. So my advice, become comfortable with talking to yourself. Explain what you're doing and why you're doing it. Think out loud. Because I know, Squigs, you're doing a video gaming stream, which is a different animal, right? You have to get used to that. You have to be comfortable with that. And if you find that you're not comfortable doing that, it's not worth the effort. I'm going to be honest with you. Even with your face on screen, if you're not talking, people are not going to be engaged. So if you get used to doing it up front, when people do show up, they hear you talking, they get a feel for who you are, and then they'll engage more in chat, and then you won't have to talk to yourself as much. It's reciprocal, for sure. Oh yeah, Melissa got you finally in the challenge, halfway through season 30. Dirty 30. That's a good one. No spoilers. Yeah. When I'm at a loss for something to turn on, like it's like we don't want to actively watch something, but we're in the living room and we're just chilling or whatever, I will just go over to Pluto TV and just turn on the challenge channel. We'll just watch whatever season is on, which was originally how I caught up on a lot of it, but now it's just like, oh, I know the season, such and such and blah, blah, blah. But then certain people come on, I'm like, shut up. Like, for example, one of my favorite phrases while watching the challenge, and you can ask Lauren this, is, shut up, Josh. I hate that guy. He's like a baby Huey-looking motherfucker. I don't understand why. Like, he's such a dick. I fucking hate him. Well, hate's a strong word. Listen, folks, when I say hate in reference to a character or a band, like anything creative, right? Even a reality TV show contestant. I don't know them personally. I don't have any deep-seated hatred for many people or things at all. But when I say it in that context, it's not like I would want harm to come to this person, place, or thing. Nouns, they're fun. All right. Oh, so whoop! So you've been working on? Sorry, still getting used to this new platform. I thought I accidentally deleted your thing. So I've been working on talking to yourself. It's gotten easier, especially with beers. It definitely helps. Oh, okay? I haven't seen Josh's Big Brother season yet. And the reason I haven't is because I hate the guy so much. Like I dislike his approach to things so much. I can only imagine how horrific his Big Brother season would be. But I will watch it. I'm gonna get through all of them eventually. I've only seen 4 or 5 seasons. We got hooked on Celebrity Big Brother there for a while because it was a nice break from. Big Brother to me is a bunch of people that haven't really done much in their lives that is of notoriety beyond just being a regular person. And a lot of them come on there thinking they're hot shit for no reason at all. And that bothers me. It's annoying, to be perfectly frank. As someone who has, at least I feel I've done some pretty significant things in my life, and I don't like to brag about those things when I walk into a room or anything, but it just drives me nuts that people they're just throwing their lives on television for no apparent reason, aside from trying to get money. Okay, he says Josh's season is top 3 worst. It's so bad. Well, I'll put it this way. I have so far I've only seen one other person, and I don't remember their name, that comes close to Angela levels of annoyance. Angela on the most recent season of Big Brother. Oh my goodness. I have never more wanted to see someone's jaw ripped off. like in Hatchet, than her. Gotcha. Yeah, last night we watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. 'Tis the Season. Um, we might watch the Eli Roth horror movie Thanksgiving this weekend because we watched it on a lark a couple months back. It was actually really a lot of fun. Um, because for those of you who don't know, like there was the Grindhouse movie double feature that Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino did, and when it was in theaters, they had fake trailers for movies that don't exist that them and a bunch of their friends directed. And Eli Roth was like, "I'm going to make this movie," and it took him years, but he finally made it. It was actually really good. It was really good. Bjorn has no idea what these shows are. So these are all reality TV shows we're talking about. The Challenge is an MTV staple. Somewhat athletic competitions with people that have been on reality shows in the past. Lots of drama, and once you get into it, there is a core cast of characters that recur on that show. So, I was kicking and screaming coming in, but it's an enjoyable watch for sure. And it's something my wife enjoys. I enjoy it. But it's not something that I tend to recommend to people if you don't watch any reality television at all. Although, it's a good gateway drug. I'll say that much. Gotcha. Okay. I would say, Bjorn, that if you don't watch a lot of reality TV, but you like seeing, if you like, for example, if you like American Ninja Warrior or stuff like that, the challenge, depending upon the season, can really lean into some of that. But you're also inundated with like stupid infighting and drama sometimes. But there are certain characters that rear their head that you're like, ah. And we also started watching House of Villains or whatever the fuck that's called. The only reason we're watching is because one of our favorite challengers who recently retired from the challenge is on that show. That show is annoying as piss. Like, it's a shitty show. But the thing is, the show is very self-aware in that regard. As the host is Joe McHale, he's constantly making fun of the show and its shitty production. At one point, one of the crew actually yells, "Fuck you, Joel," when he says something derogatory about the production. So that's fun. It's very meta in that sense. I'd agree with that sentiment, and that's why I thought you would like the challenge a lot, because you get all the things you get with Big Brother plus, like it's a bit more rapid fire, you know. I think I think the downfall of Big Brother is that it's so drawn out, you know. I think the this is happening live aspect of things is it's kind of played out, but they need to do something to refresh the show. Ian Sweeney is here. Says afternoon. Afternoon to you too, sir. It's almost afternoon here. About 40 minutes will be afternoon here. It's good to see you. We don't have a set topic today, so if you have any burning questions about anything I've ever talked about, or toy news, or anything, just shoot, man. That's what I'm here for. And I'm glad to see you. Squeak says some challenges are insane how brutal they are. Surprised I get away with some of it. Yes. Once you get to season 40, the current season, there's actually some really good ones for this one. But I'll say between Dirty 30 and 40, those 10 seasons are some of my favorites, for sure. Coffee. But I am just chilling. Negative Ghost Rider, the pattern is full. We cannot talk about that. You ruined those for me forever. When I was a kid, I used to want one really bad. Then I met you. Ian says, the saddest thing about Big Brother is that there is now more than a generation that thinks it's only the name of a TV program. I agree with that. I agree with that. Um, and for example, right, George Orwell's 1984, from which this is derived, um, on Audible, for example, if you just sign up for an account, you can get the audiobook of George Orwell's 1984 for free. So, it's the movie's good, the book is great, the audiobook is good. I think it should be mandatory. Yeah. I was always like, what the fuck is this shit? Like why is this called this? Like, I grew up and I read the book, and Squig says she just wanted me to start around challenge 30. Yeah, once you get into the core people, like from around Dirty 30, which is a good place to start. I think she was smart on that regard. Get a few seasons in, kind of figure out who your favorites are. Then go back to, like, say, season 20, and then 10. And then, fill it in from there. And then, like I said, just throw on the Pluto TV challenge channel, and the rest of the gaps will fill in. If you have Paramount Plus, like, again, you don't want to watch this right away. You'll want to get at least a few seasons in before you do this. There's an awesome documentary that leads up to, I think, the Dirty 30 or 35, something like that. There's also the alternatives with Challenge USA, Challenge International. There's a lot of stuff out there. But the documentary will spoil some really good moments. So that you don't necessarily want to watch that until you've seen at least 5 to 10 seasons and got an idea of who you like. And then going back and seeing some cool stuff that maybe you wouldn't otherwise know about, then you can go watch those whole seasons because they're worth it. Well, I mean, I got my cringer back there who's showing his ass to somebody. I don't remember who. Is that? Oh, yeah, that's Cobra Khan. Definitely a top 10 book for sure. Ian Sweeney says there's a great shirt that says 1984 wasn't meant to be an instruction manual. Yes, I would love to get that as a poster or something. Billy Wifta would love to hear my thoughts and opinions on McFarlane Superpowers line, my collection of it, where you want to go, the poster, where it will probably go. One thing that I've learned about the McFarlane Superpowers line, and let me just do this. That way it's not taking up much space. My thoughts on it are actually pretty basic from my perspective. What? Hang on, I gotta fix this. Existing. Here we go. There we go. That's pretty centered, right? Okay, cool. So my thoughts on it really boil down to, I didn't expect it was going to come at all to begin with. And when it did, I was very pleased to see that they stuck with the card and box artwork, that they were doing a lot of vehicles and so forth. Some of the character, some of the releases I've seen, I questioned the wisdom of those. So I pick and choose. I have a fairly large amount of the series, but there are many figures I'm just never gonna own. There was a brief moment where I thought I'd go completion, and I'm really glad that I didn't. Like the Batman Who Laughs, don't care. A lot of the Golden Age stuff, Silver Age, whatever, fucking bronze. I don't give a fuck. Whatever the ones that aren't from when I grew up, basically, like the character versions. Like I don't care. Like if a Jay Garrick Flash comes out, which I think they are making one, I might get that because I have a couple comics with Jay Garrick in it, like Jay Garrick Flash. But there's a bunch of them. Like, I don't need this. The whole goal of my Superpowers collection is to augment the collection, the vintage version that I have, right? So that's the whole point of it. So, you can't see all of it right now, but there's a bunch of it here. In a perfect world, I would love to see good representations of every vintage version of the characters be released, right? That way I can take the vintage ones and like kind of have a special display for them, like custom make like a shadow box for them. Just put them up on the wall and be done with it. And then have all the modern versions of them actually hang out in a loose diorama or whatever. That would be. I would love to see that happen. But I do think that they're going to go the Origins route. I honestly believe that. I think they're going to continue to pump out modern alongside vintage versions of characters. Reimaginings and things we never got. All at this, just until the well goes dry. The crowdfund they did for the Multicraft and the Black Manta's ship, I understand why they did it. I think that they were right in that there wasn't... So it's either they wanted to make it but retailers didn't want it, or they did the research and knew it wouldn't sell as much at retail, but they wanted people to get their hands on it. Or they wanted to see if they could just make a shitload of money and not have to worry about distribution. I don't know that for sure, but I funded it. I ordered them. I'm happy. I'm going to get them. But do I think they're going to have more vehicles? Yeah, I do. What vehicles they're going to have more of, I don't know. I've heard rumors about the Fortress of Solitude. That's exciting to hear. But I think it's a misstep. I think the slam dunk would be a Legion of Doom hideout, or the Dark Side Fortress, the Tower of Terror, Doom Tower, whatever the fuck it's called. I think any of those would be a slam dunk. However, having a Fortress of Solitude, that was a rumored thing back in the day that never got made, so that's also probably going to be a slam dunk as well. It's just not a slam dunk necessarily for me. Of course, I will buy one if they make one. So I where I think it's going to go is going to depend upon the next 6 months to a year, I think. If he really does do the Fortress of Solitude and it's not a crowdfund or an exclusive, I think it's going to go places pretty quick. I have a feeling it's going to be the next crowdfund they do. And as long as the pricing is reasonable, if it's $100 or less, I think it'll sell like hotcakes. And based upon the pricing they had for the stuff they did, that last crowdfund, the drawing board that McFarlane did for Superpowers, he didn't go nuts. And I was surprised by that, but it was a smart business move in my opinion. And then to even make sure that it was getting made. In other words, it was clear that they were already going to make these. They just wanted to see how many people they could get to buy in on it. Hey, Ted! And yeah, it has been a while, buddy. It's good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend. Yeah, we haven't done a live in a long time, and it's a holiday. You know how I am about those. So, your turkey just came out of the oven? Yeah, mine hasn't even gone in yet. Because we have 2 3-pound breasts. 2 turkey titties of equal size. And they're only going to take about 2.5, 3 hours tops to cook. Because it's relatively small. Because I don't like a lot of the extra stuff. Like, I don't mind dark meat at all. But it's just the two of us. And like, we'll probably eat one of the turkey breasts and the other one will just be leftovers in the fridge. And that's fine by me. And then we're going to have some stovetop stuffing with some gravy. And Lauren's going to make some green bean casserole because that's one of her favorites. And although I've never like gone after it to make it, I've always enjoyed it when I've had it. So that'll be like, okay, cool. Plus it is a veggie table. So that's good. And then we have some apple pie and some brown and serve rolls. So we're not going to be hurting at all until after we've busted our guts eating this stuff. Joe to Becky, good to see you, man. Says, happy Thanksgiving, Jim and the gang. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you, sir. Happy, happy, happy. But I do not think we're going to get everything redone in this line. They're not going to make a Darkseid Destroyer. At least not the same one. I really doubt they're going to make a Hall of Justice. If they did, it's going to be a white one. And it'll be similar to this one, but have other play features. I doubt they'll make a Batcave. I doubt they're going to make a villain base. If they do, though, that would be such a slam dunk for them, I think. Ted says, as long as I got cornbread dressing, I'm good. Yeah, cornbread stuffing I've had multiple times, and I do enjoy it. But growing up, we had traditional white bread stuffing. And again, this is going to sound like anathema to a lot of people. The way my family made stuffing was so soggy was that I preferred stovetop in many, many ways. Just give me a metric fuckload of stovetop and I'm very happy. The Aquaman Tony picked up was pristine. There you go. Was that the retail release with the long hair and the beard? That Aquaman? So I think I have him floating around here somewhere. Pretty sure I do. It's really Myth Guy Gardner did not come with a power battery. I get you on that one. Got him the Black Manta. Anyway. Yeah, I got the black suit Black Manta, and then I've got the cartoon color Black Manta coming with the crowdfund thing. Back at you. Clapping, clapping, clapping. Ian Sweeney would like my opinions on army building in today's toy collecting world. Okay. This would go into, like, two different, like, categories. So I'll preface with that. So the first half would be vintage, the other half would be modern, and I have similar views. I'll come back to it in just a second. Podrixon Palpatine's here. Welcome to the show. Says, Palpatine's neither late nor is he early, or arrives precisely when he's supposed to. I agree. Oh, so you're saying classic from the 80s. I do have one of those over there, and when you get a clean one, those are beautiful figures, but their legs are often loose because of the action figure. That's the one thing. The Tridents are a pain in the ass, too. Stuffing goes in the bird. Dressing is baked in a pan. Yeah, I prefer dressing to stuffing then, for sure. My family always stuffed the bird. And although I enjoyed it, I prefer a crispier, crustier, more bread feeling thing. Tony picked it up on a trip to Melbourne. Okay, cool, man. So, going back to troop building. Short version. I think there's a limit. And this applies to both vintage and modern. Because print runs are only so long. And depending upon the figure and how many of them are made, I think it's kind of selfish to troop build beyond a certain point. In most cases, I don't see a point going beyond like 12 to 15 of anything. One of the exceptions to that rule is you look at like Toy Polloi, right? Dave has a bajillion Skeletors, but those bajillion Skeletors are Skeletors that he repaired, brought back from being broken. So he can have all the Skeletors he wants if that's how he's acquiring them, in my opinion. The same goes for anything else. If it's a broken toy that you fix and restore, go to Town Care if you have 500, right? I like troop building to a degree. Like I have 5 or 6 Eternian Palace Guards. I have 2 of the Imposters. I have 5 or 6 or 7, I can't remember, Horde Troopers. I have 2 of the Snake Troopers. I have 3 of the 2 packs of Skeleton Warriors, and that's Mo2. Comes with Stormtroopers. I have 4 to 6 of them in Black Series, and then I have 5 in Vintage Collection, and then 3 or 4 from like other versions of the line. And that's just because I like a lot of I like having a lot of Stormtroopers. But the people that I see out there, and I've told the story many times, like when it comes to like, there's this one cat that had like 65 fucking parademons from the Superpowers line, and he was willing to sell them. This is an uncommon character, and he wanted to sell them all as one lot. I'm like, what makes you think anyone else wants 65 of these things? What the hell is wrong with you? And he didn't like have them in a diorama all displayed cool like they were attacking in a horde. They were just on a wall. Like, I also understand if someone like really likes a specific character and just wants a bunch of that character in different scales and stuff, like that I totally get. Different versions of things, you know, variants, I understand that. But generally speaking, when it comes to vintage, it's like, well, they're not going to make any more of those for the most part, right? So I think going beyond like a dozen to 15 is selfish and unsustainable, because there's a finite amount of that and people should be able to get their hands on it. When it comes to modern, I think it's difficult to do because people just scoop up things. But that's also why I pre-order on multiple platforms, even though I typically only purchase on one. The idea being that I'm trying to encourage there to be more product in the world. So if people want one, they can get one of whatever. If I had a more exhaustive budget, for example, when it comes to vintage collection Stormtroopers, I would probably be in the 20 to 25 range, but I would stop there. But they've had 3 to 5 releases of a standard Stormtrooper in that line, and the modern version of it, and I don't see an issue there. But when it comes to getting the initial number of things you want, it can be difficult because the people that do troop build, they order so many, like things go out so fast, you know. Ian says that there is a Black Friday sale on Star Wars action figures over here, currently with the deluxe Jango Fett at £8.95, free postage at £50, so earn 6. If you were going to make a bunch of Fetts for and then custom paint them for like Mandalorians, you know, like have like a Mandalorian little army, I think it's a great idea, and it's a really, really good price for that figure. But if you just want 6 Jango Fetts and do no modifications to them, and you're keeping them all, I don't understand that. But if you're using them to like create like a squad of Mandalorians, I think it's a great idea, and it's a great price. I think you should do it, and I want to see pictures. I think it'd be a great idea. Ted says, I thought I found a deal on Vintage Collection Stormtroopers came out recently. Walmart had them on a rack marked $5.99, but wouldn't give them to you at that price. They're marked that? You wouldn't give them to you? Rude. Like, I would have turned into a full-blown Karen at that point. I'd be like, look, I wouldn't even be standing here trying to pay for these if someone in your store hadn't screwed up. So you either make this right, or I'm not going to shop here anymore. You know, start really going for them. But, dude, future reference. And this goes for any of you. If you come across Vintage Collection Stormtroopers for $6, anywhere, anytime, just buy a bunch. Let me know what I owe you. I'll buy them. That's amazing. The side panel with the price above them. Oh, I see. I gotcha. Oh, I can imagine, Ted. I can imagine, brother. Like, motherfuckers. Yeah, that's fucked up. They didn't stock it right. But, truth be told, in that circumstance, I can understand why they may not have wanted to give them to you at that price. Ian says, yes, that is the reason I collect Mandalorians and I'm aiming to be a customizer. Well, then for that price, and I'm just going to throw this out there, why not make it an even 10, sir? Make it an even 10. That price is really good. And speaking of that, there's tons of Black Friday stuff coming out. Big Bad has like 5 pages of stuff. And depending upon what it is you want to do, every toy line we've talked about today, there is something in that list. Like there's a bunch, and I mean a bunch, of like $6, $7 Motu Origins figures. So if you're trying to customize those, boom, tons of parts there. Vintage Collection, tons of stuff there. There's Black Series stuff there. Tons of stuff. Do not sleep on that. Do not sleep on that. A baker's dozen. Do it. I agree, Palpatine. I agree. 13 of them? Sure. That'd be fun. I'd be all over that. Because I really enjoyed The Mandalorian when it was on. You know. Even the, Book of Boba Fett, which I enjoyed more than most. Even though it was The Mandalorian Season 2.5. Which, I don't give a shit. That's fine. But I don't like the modern shows enough, or the modern movies enough, to get figures of them. Which is weird to me. I do enjoy watching the sequel trilogy, despite their major flaws, but I don't... Here's the thing. Daisy Ridley somehow manages to feel antagonistic to the audience in every movie she's in Star Wars. Like she doesn't want to be there. Like she has no hope at all. Luke Skywalker always had hope that things could be okay. Except for that one time when he didn't. Thanks, Rian Johnson, you prick. I am all for bringing new ideas into things, but to bring those ideas in at the expense of betraying what was a bad idea. You could have kept all of these characters who they were and still accomplished what you wanted to do. It's a lazy fucking thing to do. Not what I'm here to discuss. But Daisy Ridley, like, she makes Rey unlikable. Because things are happening at Rey. And Rey has the personality of a wet paper bag. I don't get it. That character could have been so much more. And there were bits of it in Force Awakens of like, okay, this is cool. But on the same token, what I've tried to like rationalize in my own head is like, this is a person who spent the majority of her life alone and fending for herself. So of course she's not going to be properly socialized, and she's not going to be that likable in social situations. But I think that's a fundamentally bad move when it comes to characterization for someone who's supposed to be your central character of the entire arc. So as a result, the only one that I'd really want a figure of probably is Kylo Ren. Because he was a great character, and he's fairly consistent throughout the series. But I'm not doing it, Ted says, Amazon has the TVC bunker for Return of the Jedi, but it's still $54, quote, on sale. I have a Power of the Force bunker, which is as good, if not way better, than that one that Bjorn sent along quite some time ago, and I'm very much looking forward to finally setting it up here in the relatively near future, provided there's space. But like this shelf right here with a cloud car on it, do some rearrangement, I'll probably have some room to do it. Ian has a very small budget for currently falling Christmas present buying, so I think 6 might be a limit, but I'm okay with that. And that's fair. Bjorn still has his original Kylo Ren TVC figure. Nothing wrong with that. I think it's a cool character. I like the design, because the design interestingly enough, like the lines around his eyes remind me of the Star Wars logo rather than anything else, which is kind of cool to me. You know, it's kind of an on the nose kind of a thing. But each one of those movies, when they came out, when I was watching it, I enjoyed the spectacle, and I came out, I was like, that was not a waste of my money. But then when you sit on it, it's like, you know. Ted says the first cut of her and Finn on the Falcon was horrible. She came off as a total bitch, and Harrison got hurt. They went back and redid it. Good. But I do think that the characterization of Rey it doesn't. While if I have to think hard to understand why a character is the way they are, then something's wrong. Either the writing's bad or the acting is bad, and I tend to think that it's the writing more so than the acting. Because Daisy Ridley has shown quite a range of things that character has been asked to do. Wildly inconsistent, I think. So, I don't know. So spoilers. Deadpool and Wolverine, in some ways, is acting like not a hard reset of the whole MCU, but enough of one that there's a springboard to where you can kind of do whatever you want without having to use the multiverse as the anchor for the whole story, which I'm grateful for. And I hope that that Disney just says, you know what? We've made all the money we're going to make off of these sequel movies. We're going to start over. Or recut them in some way. Like, think about it. You still got Mark Hamill is still alive and kicking. Harrison Ford is still alive and kicking, thank goodness. And you could get Harrison to record some additional scenes and take the best parts of the stuff that they already did. I think you could like recut some of the footage from those 3 films they did make, shoot some new stuff, and make like a whole new version of the sequel trilogy. I think it could be fun. What I'm saying is I think the Disney Star Wars sequel stuff needs a complete reboot. I don't think they have the balls to do it, frankly. But, we'll see. Like, I'd love to point the finger at Kathleen Kennedy directly. Everything's done by committee now. And looking at what Disney is doing with a lot of stuff, like Alien Romulus is a really good example of what Disney is doing with the properties they have. The premise of Alien Romulus, love it. The production design of Alien Romulus, love it. The acting in Alien Romulus, by and large, I think it's really, really good. And the execution of that, it's way too wink and nod and nudgy to the audience. They're like, remember? Hey, you remember? Hey, you remember Ash from the first movie? I remember. That kind of crap. They took a great concept and kind of just Rip Taylor style, like just throwing member berry confetti at you, and I hate that shit. But when fan service is done properly, like in Deadpool and Wolverine, or any of the Deadpool movies, really, and certain Marvel movies, like Endgame, I think was done pretty well. I think that's good, but just dangling something, it's like a hack comedian from the early 90s, like, so what's the deal with the Talon Fighter having 2 right legs? I mean, have you heard about this? Have you seen this? Like, that kind of crap. Like, I hate that shit. Ted does not mind spoilers for Deadpool Wolverine. Well, I'm not going to do it in case anyone else hasn't seen it and they want to. I just don't do that. The short version, though, without giving anything away, I will say that it ends the way you think it will and also doesn't. It's a pretty brilliant way of doing what they did. So, like, all the stuff that they're throwing at the fans that the fans want has a story purpose. Everything. Very few of the cameos don't have a pretty good story purpose or elements of the story. Like for example, as you might guess from the trailers, the Deadpool army is in there, and you're like, or Deadpool Corps, whatever the fuck they call it. But it makes sense in the confines of the story why that happens, and it's cool. Wolverine's costume, even, they don't just throw it on him and don't explain why he's finally wearing it. There's a story purpose behind it, and it's believable, and it's cool, and it makes it that much more meaningful, especially on a second watch. It's kind of cool. There's a couple Rob Liefeld jokes in there, but yes, it's very good. What was my opinion on Transformers 1? My opinion was that we didn't need it, so I didn't watch it. I don't plan to. I've heard very polarized opinions on it, although the positives outweigh the negatives from what I've seen. I'm not particularly interested in it. As everyone knows, I am a super fanboy of the G1 animated 1987 Transformers the movie, animated. That will always be the only Transformers movie for me. Bumblebee was a great movie that stopped about 15 minutes into the film. It's like the opening scene where they're on Cybertron. You get to see all these Transformers going, basically looking like a much higher budget cutscene from War for Cybertron, the video game. If the whole movie had been like that, I would have loved it even more. And the Bumblebee movie that we got, really fun, total departure from the other Michael Bay crap, and I felt like it was pitch perfect. I feel like, but that it wasn't a very high bar to do better than the Michael Bay shit, so I haven't seen any reason to go to see these movies. Bjorn says he enjoyed Transformers 1. Well, good. Ted's asking, are you asking if they're still doing the crossover? I'm going to bet no, because Hasbro announced the other day that they're just not doing movies anymore. Because they lost, because Transformers 1, even though it was pretty much a hit, did not perform financially the way they expected it to. So he's just done. He's like, I'm done. And yeah, I don't think there's anyone would question that as far as the live-action Transformers movies that have come out ever, the Bumblebee's by far the best one. It had a good story, cool characters, and because it was like something newish, even though it fit in the universe, it wasn't predictable, right? I liked that aspect. I didn't really know where the story was going. And the least believable part for me was John Cena. Even though he's a great actor, like, wasn't buying that he was the villain. I just wasn't into it myself. Well, Bjorn, if you haven't seen Bumblebee, I highly recommend it. Highly. You do not have to have seen anything else. It's a standalone movie that has a certain degree of, like, there's some fan service for those that have watched the other live action stuff, but it's not necessary by any stretch of imagination. Jonathan Redmond in the house says, evening all happy tea dumping day. I don't know if this is tea dumping day for us. We didn't do that. This is Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is where we, like, basically, the Indians gave us, the American Indians, the Native Americans, the indigenous people of America, fed us when we proved we were inept at feeding ourselves as colonialists. And it was the harbinger of horrible things to come. So I'm very aware of that origin of the holiday. I do not support the aftermath of this holiday, but turkey's very good. And the idea of giving thanks to the things we have, I think, is good. But the origin of this holiday, awful. Just like Columbus Day. Fuck that guy. Asshole. Um, you know, but acknowledging those things and celebrating what has come since, I think is smart. I think there's a certain point, I don't want to, like, suppressing it so badly that you don't, like, if you don't celebrate the holiday, I understand, if you're in the U.S., and, but I think that we have to remember our history, and I think Thanksgiving and celebrating it, even if you're like, I'm making this desertion. I'm going to eat the turkey, I'm going to be thankful for what I'm thankful for, but fuck the Pilgrims and what they did to the indigenous people of America. If you make the distinction in your head and in your heart, cool. Billy Whipta is going to go watch Deadpool Wolverine. Paul need to watch something entertaining. It is very entertaining. It is a lot of fun. I hope that you enjoy it, and let me know what your thoughts are on it. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of communism either. There's some aspects of socialism that it doesn't bother me, but communism doesn't function. John Herman says, Jim, we invented Halloween over here. Definitely not the best thought about the origins. Right? You know, like Easter, for example, with the fertility, like the pagan fertility holidays that it came from. You know, smearing rabbit's blood on people's doors and shit. Like, I think they should bring that back, personally. And yeah, the origins of Halloween are kind of, but what it eventually turned into, I love Halloween, you know. Plymouth Star was good. Yeah. I get you. I get where you're coming from. I hear you. I also saw something. Pardon me. Oh. That I thought was hilarious. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but basically said, maybe the thoughts and ideas of men who owned other human beings and would be baffled and gobsmacked at the sight of a dishwasher weren't right about everything in perpetuity. I tend to agree. I don't want to get into the big long thing, but like the U.S. Constitution as it exists maybe isn't the best template for a functioning society. Not that I want any rights to be removed from it or anything. I think that it needs to be... I think there's other things that could be added to it that would make more sense in today's world, but what those are, I don't honestly know. Just that saying, hey, it's fine. It's like, nah, I don't think it is. No, I totally understand, man. I know you're not trying to get political, Ted. I'm just saying I'm not trying to get political. You know how I am, man. You know where I'm at. You know I'm like that annoying centrist. Bum, 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 bum. Yes, Jonathan. Deadpool Wolverine was very good. And seeing some of the people that I respect on YouTube, people I watch, like people I don't know at all. Because, like, when I'm watching YouTube late at night to, like, fall asleep or something, it is exclusively YouTubers I have never met or talked to personally. So that takes almost all the toy YouTubers off the table. Just a shitload of people are just out at that point. So a lot of them are, like, these long-form film critics. And by film critics, I'm talking about a lot of failed filmmakers. There are so many people that make video essays about film that haven't put out any real film themselves. But they're great storytellers. They really are. So I love listening to them. And there's a lot of those that are, frankly, very pretentious about their views on certain genres. Like, on one hand, there's this guy that I love who loves the Raimi Spider-Man movies and loves the Mark Webb Spider-Man movies, but poo-poos a little bit on the MCU ones. And I'm like, what? I understand where his opinion comes from based upon the context he gives, but I'm just like, your bar's a little weird. And like people like that are in some ways shitting on Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm like, why? The fact that it even exists at all is kind of awesome that Disney took that chance. And they went out of their way to write a love letter to an era of film that was competition for them for a while. And they now own. And I think it was a great send-off to that era. And certain characters and certain ideas. And, you know, movies are allowed to be fun. Right? Which would be my argument for Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny, if it were already fucking good. It's not. It has about 15 minutes worth of fun in it, and the rest of it's like, Jesus, they paid money to make this? You know? Palpatine says we should all celebrate Mari Lloyd. Who wouldn't want to rap battle against a horse just to keep your food and drink good times? There you go. Joe DeBecky says, it's all context now. Taking indigenous people's lands and fucking them over, not cool. We get that. Back then, shit was different, but awareness is good. That's where I'm at. Like, I'm not trying to beat anybody over the head and be like, your ancestors did this. It's just, for me, it is with anything like that. The awareness is important. The context is important. Because when people talk about the health of America and the idea of America, it's like, well, the road to get here was bloody and problematic. So I don't ever want to act like America's always been like this thing that, like, it's perfect. It's like, no. You know, just like my marriage to Lauren, she's my third spouse. And we had a long talk yesterday, as a matter of fact, about the fact, like, we both are very much like, I'm in it to, I'm not leaving no matter what. And we're not having any problems. I want to be very clear about that. But we just kind of have these check-ins now and again. Like, I think all good relationships do. And we're both like, nah, I'm in this for life. Like, that's it. I'm good. But the road to get to her and I meeting and falling in love and getting married, that's a couple decades of a lot of crap I put myself through. So even on a personal level, like, there are good things that come out of your life that take a lot of dirt, sweat, and shit and blood to get to. So, me too, Bjorn. Every time a new series of Spider-Man came out, I'm like, this is great. I love this. Every time. The only Spider-Man films that I saw and I went, I enjoyed it, but were Spider-Man 3, the Raimi Spider-Man 3, which is clear that Avi Arad had his fat little fingers all over it, and Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was a bit... There were aspects of it that were silly to me. Yeah, I'm with you on this, Jonathan. The second MCU Spider-Man movie is a bit rough to get through sometimes because it's... And it's not that it's a badly made movie for me. I think, honestly, I think that Peter gets fucked with so hard in that movie is difficult for me to watch because, like, he's a good kid just trying to do right. And I think they fucked him over way too much in that movie. It's hard to watch. It's hard to get through because of that. But I understand other story reasons why people might not watch it again. Ian Sweeney says, I love the sequel trilogy, but then I like pineapple on pizza. It's not for everybody, but I only ask to be able to like what I like without judgment. I feel safe here, even though we disagree. I still rewatch the sequel trilogy once in a while. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a complete shitstorm that it has no merit. I think there's lots of merit. I just wish it went, you know, a bit differently. Yes, Alyssa, it is hard, for sure. And, Alyssa, if nothing else, a voice is what I've got. I'm a great talker. And if I'm good at it, I might as well use it to speak as much historical truth as I possibly can, because it's important to me, and I hope it's important to other people too. And yes, commitment is hard, but it is wonderful. I agree. I agree. Bjorn says Spider-Man 3 was the first and last movie I ever saw on opening day. I don't see many movies on opening day, which I think is a confusing thought because they're like, it opens Friday, but it's like, midnight on Thursday. There you go. It doesn't, just tell me, like, whatever the first show time is, that's when it opens, I saw Captain America Civil War on the Thursday night, like a 7 o'clock showing or something. And because my buddies bought their tickets well in advance, but I was still able to get one, they had seats selected together, and then I was kind of by myself. And I was in the very fucking front of the theater. I will never do that again. My neck hurt so much doing this. And the movie was a weird watch at that point. Because a movie at that angle is not fun. But I still had a great time. Because I was not going to miss Spider-Man on the big screen in the MCU. There's no fucking way I was going to miss that, right? Absolutely adored it. Great time. Arguably one of the best, if not the best, ways to handle introducing Peter Parker into an established universe I could possibly think of. It's because it was a big fucking ask, for that to happen. Like, just the fact that it was even considered, let alone actually happened, is crazy. For those of you who don't know, we are streaming across Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live at the same time, which I especially on holidays and charity events I tend to do. Aussie Rule joining us from Twitch says, Slayer! Back at you, buddy. Bum, 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 bum. Badger is still in the house. It's good to see. Jonathan Redmond says, front row seats are great in boxing and wrestling, bad for everything else. I agree, sir. Especially racing events. Ian Sweet says, last proper wow cinema moment I had was watching The Matrix on release without knowing anything about it before the hype and parodies took over. Yeah. I was largely was really removed from pop culture from like 98 until probably spring of 2001. A lot of that was from the Marine Corps. A lot of it was just from just not being anywhere close to a broadcast television or anything. So when I saw The Matrix, at least part of it for the first time, was my buddy got a new home theater system, and this would have been 99. And he got a really good system, too. And it was so fucking loud in this little apartment that he had. But it was good. It was real good to see what I saw. And then I watched it on my own later. I was like, this is really cool. I heard rumblings of the X-Men movie coming out, and then I went in my buddy's room when I was in A school in Florida, and he just happened to have fucking the X-Men DVD sitting there, and that's how I watched the movie for the first time. I was that far removed from shit. It was kind of crazy. Do I want company on the stream? Yes, sir. There's a link in the Hangout channel. You, by all means, can just click that link and come on in, sir. I would love to see you. Bum, 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 bum. Ozzy is seeing Goblin next month, and it is seated. I'm going to try front row. Good. For concerts, that's pretty good, too. But there are certain concerts that, you didn't enjoy the Matrix movies. Well, you're an odd duck, my friend, and that's okay. I understand. Everyone's got their preferences. My sister is at one of my least favorite relatives' house for the holiday. Just texted me Happy Thanksgiving, which is awesome. Um, but it's like, I mean, I hope you're enjoying yourself. Um, my sister got taken to see from Dust Till Dawn at the cinema, and only knew it was Tarantino film that we were quite enjoying it, and then vampires. She was like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, the twist on that movie got ruined in a lot of uh, the previews and stuff. I didn't know anything about it. How it got ruined for me was that I walked in on a buddy who was watching it, and it was like 5 minutes before the fucking vampire turn happened. Otherwise, I because I was shocked, but I didn't have enough time to invest in the characters and shit. It's a thing. But I will say that any chance I've gotten to show someone from Dusk Till Dawn that didn't know, it makes up for the fact that I didn't quite get to have that experience, right? This is why I'm so anti-spoiler about shit, right? Because I want to have pure movie watching experiences. But this whole concept of like people like putting out spoilers, like heavy spoilers in like public social media posts 24 hours, 48 hours a week, in some cases even a month after a movie comes out, I find horrifically irresponsible. Because it's like, look, everyone has a different timeline. I think that basically it should be a week to 2 weeks after they come out in streaming. That should be a thing. But no one's going to respect that because they're assholes. I hate that shit. Like Force Awakens, the fate of a major legacy character was spoiled for me the day before I went to see it. I was streaming and some guy had a bot come in and just fucking spammed that thing. And I kind of figured that was going to happen, but I didn't need that to happen. And it I didn't need that punch to the gut at the time. I think it's a horrible thing to do to people. Ted says The Matrix was only going to be one movie, and it turned out to be such a big hit they really didn't have a plan to finish it. Yeah, true story. Unless it's something like The Sixth Sense. Spoilers don't bother. Yeah, Sixth Sense. Yeah. Right. But the thing is, like, now everything's trying to have some kind of a hook. There's a lot of movies like that. Like certain kind of movies, like I don't think it should matter. Some others do. So that's why because it overcomplicates things. I knew the whole storyline of episode 7 going in. We all did. It was A New Hope over again. Which is, it is what it is. Yeah. Bjorn got Endgame spoiled for him. Oh man, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. But I'm very good. Like when there's something coming out that I'm really looking forward to, like I'll go on my X account, Twitter account, and just block all the hashtags associated with that film and block certain words associated with the title of that film, and and I'll just stay off of Facebook. And when my friends are like, I just saw it, I'm like, shut up. Find another group chat if you want to talk about it. Because Endgame was the culmination of 10 years, 20-some films, 22 movies. Let people enjoy this shit, fucker. Like, I understand being so excited about something, you want to talk about it. Like, for example, Lauren and I binged the entire series of The Penguin last week. One of the things we were busy with, right? And we were just like, oh. And there's a couple things in those last few episodes, especially that like you don't want to spoil that for anybody because it's just really goddamn good storytelling. So I didn't make a big deal out of the fact that we watched it. So I just try to help out. One second, I'm responding to a message. And I got a copy, a link address here for you guys. Future reference. I'll just tell him again when he gets here, but when I say Hangout channel, I mean the Instagram private chat that we have for the patrons and shit. Polyracing Palpatine says, Happy Star Wars Day, UK Star Wars Day, 28th September 1977. That's awesome. That's a long time to wait. Ian Sweet says, favorite unspoiled beforehand film finales would include The Usual Suspects and Lucky Number 11. There you go. Right on. My father-in-law loves The Usual Suspects. And when he heard that I had this massive film collection, he's like, you gotta have The Usual Suspects, right? I'm like, I do not. And I bought it like the next day. I still haven't watched it. And then we were watching something the other night before, where they're talking about like film and the power of influence and all this shit, and they mentioned a major plot twist in Usual Suspects, and I was like, son of a bitch. But I couldn't be mad at him because one, I willfully was watching the show, and it had been 30 years or whatever since that movie came out, so I was like, all right. And then I was like, oh yeah, I did hear about that. So it's similar to another movie that I'd seen that I loved, but from what I understand, it's just a great movie. Yeah, I hear you. And the Epic Badger is here. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and Lauren.
Well, I'll let her know when she stirs.
Hi, Lauren.
She can't hear.
I know. I know. Having some fun. You got a lot in the oven, or are you taking it easy?
We have a lot of food to cook, but nothing we have takes a super long time. Like, we have 2 separate turkey breasts that are 3 pounds each. Mm-hmm. And in total, that'll take 2.5, 3 hours tops. So I'm not worried about it. And plus, Lauren sleeps late. I'm not going to bust my ass to cook just for it to be her breakfast. So we'll wait until she's up, and then we'll start cooking.
Yeah.
So it won't be... And stuffing, dressing, whatever fuck you want to call it. I'm doing stovetop, because stovetop is plenty tasty. You just put enough gravy on it, it's fine. Plus, with a breast, you have nothing to stuff anyway, and I don't like doing the casserole dish for anything. But we have brown and serve rolls, the stovetop. She's making green bean casserole. So we've got a spread. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. What about you? You just keeping it chill?
Yeah, this year. In the previous years, I would make like the whole kit and caboodle. But
oh, wow.
It's just me.
Yeah.
So I'm going, what are my favorites? I have the turkey, just a small bit of meat. I've got a big baked potato in the oven, and I made candied yams. It's like,
nice.
That's going to be all I need.
Nice. I like that.
And then going back to your conversation, this is going to be weird to you, but I am someone who can live through media through osmosis. In terms of spoilers mean nothing to me. Don't care. I'll still watch the movie the same. But I could watch like someone does a let's play on a
Mm-hmm.
game that comes out. I can be completely satisfied to never play that game because I feel like I've
Mm-hmm.
absorbed the game. I'm just
Mm.
one of those people who it's
No,
just gets
with
absorbed so
modern
quickly.
with modern games especially, I'm right there with you because there are games where I'm like, I don't want to sit there and fucking do it. Like unless the game has some aspect of it that you can really personalize the experience with like certain character choices or character appearance and choice, I don't see the point. Like, for example, a like Last of Us or Last of Us Part 2, like there's a reason those have gotten adapted to HBO and have done well
Yeah.
because it's a really great story that deserves to be told. I really enjoyed the first season of Last of Us, but having played the game or had watched a playthrough of it, I think really enhances that a lot. Like one enhances the other. It's kind of like what I say about Hellraiser the movie and the Hellbound Heart novella. They're vastly different, but one informs the other in many ways. So I think that's a valid point. Like, there's nothing wrong with that at
It
all.
has to be a valid point because it kind of explains why watching let's plays is so prevalent in
Yes.
our culture. It wouldn't have taken off if people are like, I don't want to see someone play the game. People, and yes, there's the economic side of it. Some people do want to watch to see how a game looks in the first impressions before they go buy it. For most
Sure.
people, it's more of the social. I just want to listen to someone talk. I want to see it play. I like the community. And I don't care if everything gets spoiled in the game for me. I'll still go play it myself or I won't.
Yeah, and I feel like, okay, so Ian Sweeney, for example, Knights of the Old Republic. I own that game on like 4 platforms. I've never touched it, and I don't know the spoiler, and I don't want to be spoiled. But I probably, honestly, just because of time, I'll probably turn around and watch a playthrough of it. I, I I don't know why, but that's just a thing. So like one analogy for it that I think I never heard anyone say this, but I've always felt this way. So as a result, I don't know why I've never said it. Watching a let's play or a live stream let's play playthrough is the equivalent of going to the movies as a group or being in a packed theater watching a story unfold. And that's something that's never been a part of video gaming before, at least not really. And I think that that's why it took off so well. Why live streaming in general became such a thing, because it became a communal experience. And
I agree with that. Also, because if you think back to our generations, when a friend had a new game, what did we do? We'd go to their house. We'd sit, if they had a personal computer, we'd sit down next to them and watch them play this really cool game. The
Right.
live stream let's plays are kind of just an evolution of us going to our friend's house. Now we're in a group
Yes.
chat with people talking about this game because we're from that time when you have to sit down next to someone and play, watch this game play, or you go to your friend's house to play 64 and 4 of you would be on a controller at the same time, or
Mhm.
it's that communal element. I would
Yeah,
say
and
there was one time when I did watch a let's play that did convince me to buy a game, because originally I had no interest in Mass Effect, but I watched. Did you ever know or ever get to know Seamus Young, programmer? He did a series of he had a website called D20 where it was like DM of the Rings. He like comic strips or he also did the Let's Play series. Oh, what's it called? Very older YouTuber who was like kind of at the cusp of the beginning of all that, but he and his
not
friends were
Markiplier,
doing,
but
huh?
like there was not Markiplier.
Spoiler warning show. That was it.
Oh, yeah.
If you're watching,
they're still around, I think.
it is. Seamus unfortunately passed away.
Oh, you're talking about Total Biscuit.
No.
Oh, that.
Yeah, Seamus Young.
Rip.
This was all through The Escapist, when The Escapist was still the
Oh,
original.
okay. Yeah.
And then
Okay.
he was doing it with Ritzgarn
Gotcha.
and some other people. And then he left the show and they continued it.
Okay.
But they did a Let's Play of Mass Effect, and it was the first time I saw someone play a game and thought to myself, this is actually interesting enough, I'd want to do that.
Yeah, Mass Effect for me, I love the freedom that it has, but basically I rented it from Gamefly. I was really hyped to try it out. And then I got through the first basic part of the thing, and then you just start exploring. I'm like, I don't know where the fuck to go. I have no idea what to do. I ended up on some random planet, driving around, couldn't find anything, and I'm like, this is stupid. I was like, Mass Effect is an example where you have too much freedom. Like, it wanted to be No Man's Sky with a story, even though No Man's Sky came out, almost 10 years later or whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, like the story validity of that was really high, and I still want to go back and play it. I have it through Game Pass and stuff. I just haven't got off my duff and done it. On the other hand, though, more recently, Lauren and I started a playthrough of South Park Stick of Truth. And I had watched someone summarize the basic plot of it and then also its sequel. And when I saw that they were starting to get really deeper into the sequel story, I said, you know what? That game seems more my speed than the first one was. Because I bought it like 6 months after it came out, like on a Black Friday sale or something, and played about an hour. Basically, I got through like the first day cycle and then didn't make it to the night cycle. And for whatever reason, I just didn't go back to it. Probably because I was like, crack addict Destiny boy by this point. And
keep talking. I'm just going to turn my camera off and check my oven.
Sure. So we started a playthrough of it, and the first night, we probably played like 6-7 hours straight. And it's a turn-based role-playing game version of South Park. And it's a lot of fun, but the combat definitely gets repetitive, but the most fun that I have with it, it reminds me so much of the point-and-click Sierra games, plus having the role-play. Like, so many games that tout RPG elements, they kind of missed the mark on keeping the quest portions of things simplistic and fun. The old Sierra games like King's Quest, Quest for Glory, Police Quest, Leisure Suit Larry, those are just some of the best games I've ever played and never will play. And that was something my dad and I sat down to do. That was our thing to do on Saturdays. Like, we bonded over that shit. And so for her and I to start this game was a lot of fun. But to go back, I'd watch these videos and, we have to do this. And although I have it on Steam, the first one, and I think I have it on PlayStation, as well as the sequel on PlayStation, I have really grown to appreciate the Xbox One Series X, which is the most up-to-date Xbox, for those that don't know. Plays in 4K. I just prefer playing on that these days for a lot of different reasons, not the least of which is that it doesn't lag for me. And there's a sale on it where I got the pair of them for like $10. I was like, money well spent. And then we had the first session was like 7 hours. We got through a whole day cycle basically. And then last night, just randomly, she goes, "Do you want to play South Park?" Because she'd asked me earlier in the week, and I just was not having. I was not feeling well. I was like, no, I do not want to play South Park. But we played it last night, and we got through another day and night cycle, and a lot of shit happened. Like the story really started to progress. And she and I have been getting a huge kick out of just what we did was we made the character look like me, but I gave him a mohawk. Because I have hair, you could easily turn into a pretty substantial mohawk. But, we're just getting a kick out of that. Like, me being in the game was just so much fun. Ian says, dinner time for me. No turkey. We don't do Thanksgiving over here, but our turkey day is Christmas. Peace all and great to see you online. Hey, no worries, man. I'm glad to do it. I am probably going to be doing live stuff more randomly, although I will promote them a little bit when I do it, because Display Our Dysfunction, like I said at the top of the stream, the pre-recorded format is definitely jiving for me, but I need to get more of those recorded and in the can so that I can make that a more consistent release so people get to see stuff, and then do live stuff more haphazardly, because I remember, because I want basically now the identity of the channel to be a hybrid of the TGL era and the early stuff with the toy collect, where I would just live stream, hey, I'm gonna live stream for a couple hours, to have more fun with it. And as this room gets closer and closer to its fruition, I think we're gonna get there. So, but thank you for being here, man. I appreciate it. Good night.
So let me ask you: are you a
yeah?
Using the wrong terms here, but are you an omnivore gamer, or do you specialize through your life? Did you specialize? So, for example,
types of games, you mean?
Through elementary school, through high school, I was RTS, everything.
Okay.
But post college, I got an Xbox. It was my first non-Nintendo console, Xbox 360, and then I picked up Red Dead. I picked up Witcher 2. So I started to get into not RPGs, I guess, what would you call them today? I mean, they are RPGs.
Yeah, I still call them RPGs.
And then, there are phases of my time. It's like a geological scale where it's you can tell through these clear layers. My brain starts to adapt to certain styles of games so that it's easier to play those same games. So,
yes.
Right now, my big thing is, because I work and everything, I only have so much free time, and I don't want to invest in big stories. So I tried getting into MOBAs, but that just wasn't for me, especially since I don't do online play. And then more recently, it's been Vampire Survivor style games. So, for example, I love the game Deep Rock Galactic, which is not this style of game, but it's a fun game. But they have a vampire style game for that now. And it's just, you jump in, 20 minutes, end of session, unless you die early. And then you could just do 2 or 3 of those and just be done for the day.
Right on.
So and that kind of clean geologic scale where it's these clear eras of time, or were you just more of whatever I feel like in the moment? And there's no short way to answer that question.
Well, the short answer on it is that I've always been pretty omnivorous, but there's certain games I definitely stay away from. I don't like real-time strategy. I hate them. I can't get into it. MOBAs, fuck them. Don't like them.
That's fine.
But I appreciate their role for people. I've certainly gone through phases where I played certain types of games more than others, but I've always been for lack of a term, I've always been game for something different. The longest period of time where that was not always the case was, at the height of Destiny for me. That's all I would play. Not because I was uninterested in other things, but because time investment, Destiny was a type of game as an MMO FPS RPG. So you get massive multiplayer online role-playing shooter. It's first of all, it's unique in that. Still is. And I was dedicated to kind of going through all the story stuff. So you had all the best trappings of an RPG. You had some of the best trappings of MMO. And you had some of the best shooter mechanics that are out there. So you're scratching a lot of itches with that game. And it was something where you could play for 8 hours or you could play for 20 minutes, depending upon what your time frame was. So for the better part of 10 years, it just scratched all those itches. But in the meantime, I'd play a couple other things along the way. But from when I was a young boy, I loved stuff. I loved a lot of different things. I come from Atari all the way on up to now. And I liked playing a variety of things. There were certain games I gravitated to more than others. On On the NES, my favorite game is easily Ninja Gaiden, and I also love the Mario series. I loved some shooter games. I love me a good shooter game. And Shayna, World of Warcraft, I totally understand now, but when it was like at what I would call its hypiness, its most hype festy, when the green expansion came out, the green box with the elf on it, I remember the day that released. So I worked at Tiger Direct, a computer parts supplier in Naperville, Illinois, and then basically we were business to business sales, and so we worked on the top floor of this gigantic warehouse, which was pretty cool. And the discounts alone were one of the best things about that job. But I digress. Every day on lunch, I would leave. I would go eat something at one of 2 or 3 places, and I would usually try to eat my meal with some degree of speed. And then there was a GameStop that was on my way back to the warehouse, and the guy that ran the place was a good friend of mine at the time, and we would just hang out for like the last 20 minutes or whatever, because it was like a good break for him. It was a good break for me. But that, I remember specifically the day that particular expansion came out. People come like, I saw like 7 or 8 copies of that sold in 20 minutes. People were just going nuts. And yes, Ted, if it was a Nintendo Power, I probably played it. Same. Absolute same. At the time when I was at my height of NES playing, my sister worked at a video store. So she got free rentals. So when she came back on like a Saturday morning, because she'd work, because they were open 24 hours, which was a rarity as well. She'd come off of a night shift on Friday, Saturday morning, and she'd just bring me whatever game. Like she had a running list of games that I was looking to play, or stuff that I liked renting repeatedly, and she would grab me whatever she could, bring it, and I'd play it, and then like, Sunday night when she went for a shift, or Monday night or whatever, she'd take it back. And so I got to play a ton of stuff. And so when I went about getting my NES collection together, it was like a best of the best. All the stuff that I owned, plus all the stuff that I like to rent, stuff I never got to play, So I liked a lot of different stuff. And then I kind of fell out of video gaming as an active hobby until the PlayStation came out. And then again, I got a wide variety of games. But by then, one of my favorite genres was fighting. I loved Mortal Kombat. I loved Tekken, Primal Rage. But I also dug RPGs. I dug side scrollers. I loved all of it. Your Mega Mans, all that shit. And then each successive console that I got, it was kind of the same. I would just find a wide variety of stuff that I enjoyed. Some stuff I'd go back to, some I wouldn't. Xbox 360 was a big one for me, I think for a lot of people, because it was just so ubiquitous. Mm-hmm. And I remember playing a lot of Halo, a lot of Modern Warfare, a lot of Gears of War. I love that game. Oof. Lots of fun, cool story, really great stylized graphics and whatnot. But that was definitely an era of shooters for me as well. Halo and stuff like that. Like I said,
I remember when I was in college, I was still big into RTSs, and that's what we did our LAN parties for.
Oh, sure.
But I remember someone had brought. It was probably the first Star Wars Battlefront.
Yes.
And I was holding a controller that I'm not familiar with, this weird alien controller.
Right.
Was it probably PlayStation? Could be Xbox original. I don't remember.
It would be PS2 and OG Xbox is when that came out. I got it on Xbox.
It was probably the PS2, and I just remember holding this weird controller with these 2 buttons. Because before that, it was the N64 with the hand killer button. But I was trying to move the character, and I'm like, okay, wait, this one moves, this one's camera. How do I move around? It was such an awkward, 10 minutes. I was like, I don't know if that's really fun. And it was then, also within a year later, I'm playing Halo addictively because I'm just like, this is how you move the character. Like, this whole style of movement is so fluid to me now.
Yes, and that was at a time when movement was just becoming like a universal thing. Button layouts were kind of samey, and but before then, every game was different, and you had to remember shit. Like even like for example, like going back to Stick of Truth, Southwest Stick of Truth, we were playing it. You know, like I said, like a week or two ago, and then we played it again last night. It's a super simplistic control style, but what I love about it is that we are playing it on the casual because I just want to get through it and have fun. But I'm also finding that I was dragging my feet on certain side quests, and then so now I'm like a level 9 or a 10, but I'm going back and completing some side quests that I had started day one, and like the boss fights are like two special moves and I'm done. Like I'm like I like this. I like overpowering myself. Like another game that you wouldn't think had this element to it, but it totally does, was WWE the 2K series, and the career mode, especially the first one that I bought, which is 2K15, I think. So it came out like late 2014. This is when I was watching wrestling quite a bit. The career mode is 100% an RPG, where you're leveling your character, and early in the game, I figured out that even if you lose a match, they keep you lower on the card. So, like, it's a 3-act structure, but you can't progress to the next act or whatever until you've gotten to you've beaten somebody or certain people in certain orders. And when you lose, you got to go back down and start over again, basically. And once I figured that out, I was like, I'm just going to keep leveling and leveling. So by the time you get to like the last act of the thing, you were so ridiculously overpowered that you could just plow through anybody, which in some ways mirrors certain WWE superstars. And I had a great time. Like I still have footage on my hard drive of literally me as a wrestler. Like it looked very much like me, beating the fuck out of some really great wrestlers, and just it's fun.
I couldn't be in RTSs. You can't be an overpowered person,
right?
Because there are some key rules with RTS. One is like never have money in your bank account. You need to be spending every penny the moment you get it. If you have money, it means you're probably going to lose the game because you don't want to be saving.
It's kind of like toy collecting.
Yeah, but also you don't want to overpower because like you need to be poking and hitting, and you don't want to be building up this massive force. You want to be very fluid. And I was always that person in single player games. I would build up these massive armies and steamroll the AI, but you can't do that with humans. And so I was just like, I love RTSs. I don't love the thing that makes RTSs popular, which is the competitive aspect.
Yeah, I think it's very similar for me when it comes to shooters online. Certain ones anyway, like Call of Duty especially. As someone, a lot of people will always ask me shit because I was, obviously I was in the Marine Corps, did some stuff, and people are like, "Do you like Call of Duty?" I'm like, "I like one Call of Duty game, and it's Modern Warfare, because it's the closest analog to what I did, even though what I did was not active, missions or anything. But I learned how to do all that stuff, So I related to a lot of it. It was fun. But the multiplayer was like, it's unforgiving and it's unrealistic. Like, motherfuckers are not jumping around on the battlefield and shit. And then you have like Battlefield, which is so hyper realistic in a sense, but you have people griefing and glitching their way through it. So it's like, that's not fun. The idea of like, faux kamikaze stuff where, well, we have. And there are very much, and people don't like to admit this, but Battlefield in particular has a lot of real-time strategy elements to it because you have a set amount of forces, and when they deplete, you lose. So you have to, and you have a set amount of vehicles and things like that spawn and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that in there. But there's a point where, like, if you have a really big ticket lead, aka lives, troops, depending upon what's happening on the field, it might be to my advantage to get into an F-16 and just dive straight into a squad of attacking people to blow them up. You know, like shoot a missile and then let's do it. Something you would never do on the battlefield unless you were a crazy idiot. Yeah,
and you didn't value the government's money.
The government doesn't value the government's money either. So, but that's something like you look at like the burnout games and like dangerous driving where like they have the crash modes where it tallies up how much damage you did. I want a Battlefield game that does that. At the end, you see how much money it costs because think about the educational tool of that. You know,
a good game, and I stopped playing it because every game gets toxic after a while. A good game that forced people on teams to work together, because even in Halo, you're always going to have the one genuine Spartan who could kill everyone by himself. But World of Tanks,
you hope so.
In World of Tanks, if you had dummies who just went out, they'd get blown up. You'd lose the game in 3 minutes. You would be conditioned as a player to be like, I have to stay near these medium tanks. I have to protect these heavies. I have to protect the artillery. I have to watch the map and see what people are doing, because if I just go out, I just lose it for the team. Like there's no recovering after a certain threshold. And so World of Tanks is early World of Tanks was good in that regards. Once they started plopping down the big boys, then it just got it wasn't fun anymore.
Like I tried to get into War Thunder. I thought it was a great game at first, but it's trying to do too much. I think. But Bjorn's asking if we like tabletop games. I do, but my problem with a lot of what people call tabletop games is that there's such a steep climb of setup for a lot of these things. Anything involving miniatures, I'm out. I am out. Fuck that shit.
I just like painting them. I don't care about.
That's why you bought the game.
I have all the Hero Quest stuff. I haven't played with people. I just like collecting the miniatures and then going on Etsy and buying like, hey, I feel like I want a bear today, or I want a gorilla. Or like a Congo gorilla. Well, he's dead. Or my favorite, which are going to be these little drungs, these little frog dudes.
Oh, right on.
If it shows them.
Are those
These are D&D.
Okay.
Drungs, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and the thing is, like, if you're that into painting miniatures, and I don't mean to be an enabler, but I'm gonna be. If that's something you enjoy that much, you are the poster child for getting like a small form factor 3D printer.
Yeah.
Just get one of the mini guys, print up all the miniatures you want, and paint them to your heart's content, man. Save so much money, make whatever you want.
Yeah,
and there's
Bjorn hit it on the head. I just like really tiny toys.
It's true. And speaking of which, and I know this is kind of weird to say in a live stream, but I want to throw this out there. Hey, yeah. Skeletor on thank you. I always stop at Panthro, and I'm like, that's not it. It's almost there.
I still got all I have left is my villain group. Ryan, is it Trapjaw? Who's got the metal?
I think
jaw?
that's Trapjaw.
That's
Trapjaw.
I don't remember if that was the name, because I know it's Merman,
Yeah,
I know it's Skeletor. I don't know Motu. But I'm building a custom scenario for Hero Quest where you use Motu characters.
Right on.
And then I'm just gonna make some custom cards. So when I do eventually start going to game stores and hanging out with people, I'll have something to play with.
Right on. Well, I wanted to bring this up because it was something that it's been fresh in my mind, and I keep forgetting to bring it up to you, so I'm going to do it here. No pressure, but Whatnot is a streaming app that works like eBay, but it's a live streaming platform. And I was like, why don't we like probably after Christmas is probably the best time to do this, like a little bit later, like February or something. But why don't we try to get on Whatnot to sell some of your stuff?
I've sold a lot of it through eBay recently.
Oh, well,
I'm
fine.
down to. I still have a small amount in that bin. I still have all the miniature stuff. The other micro stuff I'm not keeping.
Well, I'm more talking about the stuff you have here. For the simple fact of like we can both be on there together. We can sell it. I'll take care of the shipping and everything, and then it'll just be done. And then whatever's left should be easier to ship. I don't know.
I don't even remember
it's just an idea.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Don't forget also when you go through, because you were asking about Wonder Woman. Unless you sold her, she should be in that bin.
Okay.
Because I know you were looking for her.
I did nab that Mattel one for a really good price as well. The Mattel DC Classics.
Oh yeah. Did I throw that in the bin?
I don't know. I'm talking about by nab I bought one.
Oh, I sold one like months ago. I didn't know you were looking.
I don't tell people what I'm looking for all the
just
time.
threw it at you.
That would have hurt. She's got sharp edges, man.
Yeah, okay.
And I appreciate that though. But no, I will look through. I promise. Because if the multiverse one is in there, it's still my preferred one. You know, and because I got such a good deal on the Mattel one, I could easily make my money back and give someone a great deal. That's kind of my thing, boys and girls. Whenever in doubt, I buy multiples of something. And sometimes, instead of whenever in doubt, it's whenever I get CRS, can't remember shit, and I accidentally get a second one, and I pass it on. Because, I love selling toys. I love the transactional, like, helping people out to complete their collections and stuff. But my business model is not high profit.
Mm-hmm.
I go for, I don't want to lose my ass, and I want to make people happy. So probably not the best business in the world. But I am thinking more and more that toy shows and doing something like a live stream like Whatnot, where you're doing live auctions for things, more so than just static eBay listings, make more sense to me because you get that personability aspect of it. And it's something where that could be fun to grow into something. But, we'll talk more about that. I just wanted to bring that up. Ted says there's a group of guys that want to sell Star Wars on Facebook like that. Yeah. Whatnot is an entire ass platform. One of the coolest things about it is that you have an affiliate link you can give out to people and say, hey, you're going to get $15 of free credit. So you could potentially buy something for nothing, which is great. I just haven't gotten around to actually setting up a stream for that and everything, and when I do, it'll be fun. And yes, Shayna, everyone in my friend circle is an enabler of some sort. All of us are. Don't even worry about it. He's enabled me in a bunch of crap. Like, you just heard him say, I'll give you this, I'll give you this, I'll give you this, I'll give you this.
Most of the stuff I don't want. I'm just like...
Well, right. I get that.
And that won't last forever, because I've really hit the point where most of the stuff I don't need is gone now that I'm more comfortable with what I actually care about. Like, a year from now, I'm going to be asking, like, do you want a micro machine? You're going to be like, no. Why would I want that?
Well,
that's all I'm going to have left.
Right. And that's true.
Because I'm one of those people who figured out, like, kind of late, but, like, this is my niche, and all this stuff you guys were the enablers. And I went into all these different other niches and then realized a year ago, like, I don't need any of this. I just want this.
Well, by the time I started collecting, you were already a grizzled veteran.
Wow. That's why I got this boil.
I saw that Instagram post and I was like, yes, dude. Like,
I was so happy when I saw it for so cheap. I was like, I gotta have it. And I was waiting for it. This was the thing that went from the East Coast to Denver, where I'm like 30 minutes from. And then the next day it was in Sacramento, California. And I'm like, why? And then
it reminds me of that. Reminds me of that castle, that first castle Grayskull I bought.
Yeah.
where it was like they just fucked the zip code up.
But
Um,
I had to have this, and it's never coming out of the box because you read the post. It's all sentimental.
yeah,
Like this was a huge milestone in my youth development.
yeah,
At the time when it's like, hey, you're old enough where chores like cleaning up after yourself and doing the dishes, we just expect that of you now. If you want stuff like this, we'll
you
come
got to
back in
save
a
for it.
month. And
Yeah,
I live in a small town. I have to go to a city to get stuff like this. So it's like in a
right,
month when we come back again, if you have helped your dad with the carpentry, if you've helped your dad clean the garage, we'll get you a toy. And it's like
right,
now, because kids are not dumb with regard to like, oh, this piece of paper at I'm talking 90s. This paper in your hand can buy you a thing. Kids can get that. It's helping them understand the amount of time you have to invest to get that piece of paper to buy a
right,
thing.
right.
That
And my
was
parents,
yeah.
yeah, my parents did that with the Nintendo Action Set. Um, and I've told the story before. I don't know if you've heard it, but my parents said, if you want a Nintendo so bad, save up for it. And I did. I saved up, and that's $100. And when you're only getting, $5 a week or whatever, like that takes a while. And it was just about to be Christmas. I had saved up enough, and I was like, okay, I'm sure I'll get enough money on Christmas to overspill it. And I'll just go day after Christmas. I was like, we got to go to the mall. I got to get a Nintendo. That was the thing, because I knew I was not going to get one. So I asked for games instead. And my parents had found out like a couple weeks before Christmas that I had hit the honor roll, which was a big point of contention for my parents because as intelligent as I may be, I was never a good student because it was a waste of my time from my perspective. Like it was so repetitive. Like, why am I doing this again? I already proved to you I can do this. But they saw I hit the honor roll. The message was getting through. He's saving his money. He's doing well in school. He's earned a reward. He needs to understand that hard work pays off. So they gave me the action set. I almost shit myself. I'll never forget. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And my mom goes, Jim, stop saying oh my God. I'm like, I can't. Like, Mom, you're stifling the moment, right? It was 1989. I was 12. It was amazing. I loved it. And then I took the money that I had saved and went and bought my two favorite games at that time. So I had Super Mario Duck Hunt, Ninja Gaiden, and Operation Wolf, and I was just in love. But I think those lessons, it's important. And before I go any further, I do want to come back to Shayna's comment here. She said, while we're on a little tangent, did you know that Jay Leno was at the Palace Theater and fell down a hill and banged himself over the bed? I did not know that. I did not know that. I hope that he's okay. Palace Theater, for those that don't know, which is everyone else, Palace Theater is the big theater in the town of Greensburg, where I went to high school. My parents retired, where my family's from. And like that was where you would go to see traveling theater shows. Like stand-up comedians would go there. Certain bands, not a lot of bands, but certain bands. And I guess like that theater, along with theaters of its type, in this century have been getting a lot more use than they did at that time. Because there was a time when like arenas were much more in vogue for a lot of entertainment, and like small theaters just weren't getting the business. I don't know why, but it happened, right? What the hell was I going to say? I don't remember. So did you have the Motu miniature? You did get the Motu game though, right?
No, I
You
was
just got
so
the miniatures?
tempted. Yeah, for those who don't know, there's it's all blanking in my mind right at the moment, but there's a UK game company that made a board game for Motu. It's amazing looking game. It's, I guess in the gaming world we call it not team based. What's the terminology now for stuff like hero based? Oh, I think that's it. Hero based gaming, where you have like 3 or 4 heroes on the game board and they fight each other. I don't remember the terminology. Anyway, it had really great Motu miniatures that you'd have to paint up. But it's in the UK, and they had a Kickstarter to bring it to the US. And I was like,
Right, and
do I want to drop a
crazy
few
expensive.
Yeah, do I want to drop a few $100? And then I just found a seller on Etsy who has, he may not have been the one to make these. He may have just purchased a license for them. But, there's Motu figures. And I'm like, I'll just buy a couple of those and paint them up and
Exactly.
use them for my Hero
And
Quest. Because Hero Quest is a very adaptable board game.
reminds me of Rifts was a big one for me and my friends in the 90s. Because Rifts took everything within the family of games that company did, like Twilight 2000 and Ninja Turtles and Marvel, and just said everything is basically the RPG equivalent of the multiverse, where anything could play with anything, and it got crazy. But I just didn't. It didn't stick for me because, and I lived with a couple that had like that dedicated game night, like every other Friday or whatever. They would have game night. Like, you can participate, and I tried once, and I'm like, I do not, because they would do like the board, more of the board games than D&D, but they would sometimes do D&D. If I want to sit down and play a board game, big quotes, if it takes you more than 5 minutes to explain to me how to play it, I am not fucking interested, dude. It's like, I have better things to do with my time. Give me a Cards Against Humanity, give me a catchphrase, give me an actual old school style board game. We got a big collection of those. We're going to get more of those as time goes on. We just don't have the space for them right now. But and traditional tabletop role-playing games, with the whole Dungeon Master thing, I'm not saying they're not fun, but this whole idea of like having to schedule a time to play it and everyone has to show up, and if you don't have the right flavor of Doritos, someone will quit and all this bullshit. Like, I was never into it because it was hard enough for me with Destiny scheduling 6 people to be in the same place at the same time to play that, and there was so much less setup involved with that. And I was like, I just don't. I don't want that.
When it comes to board games, I've had roommates who have had like those games where you open the lid and you just stop right there.
Yeah,
like, this is like an hour of setup. I prefer much simpler, smaller board games.
I have that Godzilla board game that Gojatron gifted me last year.
That's a great one.
I haven't opened it yet. I'm scared.
Well, I love the miniatures in it.
Oh, I do too. But I'm scared to open it because I'm like.
But one thing I like to do, I don't have a big board game collection, but what I do have is Kickstarter board games. And that's been my big thing, is backing up Kickstarters, because it's great. On Kickstarter, you get to see someone say, like, this is the design, this is what I put into it, this is my work and my interest, and you get to know the people making the game and understanding why they're making it. And also the games are just, you have to set yourself apart to sell it, a game through Kickstarter. So like the games that have funded that I'm waiting for in a couple months, I have like Best in Show, which is a game about, you have a dog, or you have 3 dogs, each of you, and you're like trying to prepare them for a dog show. There's also Dogs with Jobs. You're a city manager and you have these dogs who have to go and get jobs and like take care of people. And it's not complicated. It's very simple rules. And then Husky from a very lovely Czech team. And it's great. You have to pair up Huskies, and some Huskies don't like each other, and that affects how you play certain scenarios. But I love Kickstarter board games.
Well, like Shady is like, getting people together is hard. Like, what I think would be like the pinnacle, in all honesty, an innovation I've been waiting for someone to come up with that they just haven't, is give me a board game and have it come with some, low cost webcams and a fucking a phone app that people can play remotely, and you can watch the different camera angles to see what things are happening, and you know, so it'd be more technology based, but you still have the physical board,
Hmm.
but they don't have to be there, like that hybrid of things, and it also makes it easy to stream. Like it's like if you make a game like that, and then I have like this resource of people from across the world, friends of mine and everything else, then you'll hook me. You give me a good setup like that, like I'm in.
Yeah.
Just like when I found out they have a browser-based Cards Against Humanity, I'm like, let's fucking go. Like, I'm all over that shit. And yeah. Bjorn says I got burned out by Kickstarters. Me too, bro. But like, for example, if you think back to very early in my toy collecting days and the era of my YouTube channel, the Roboskull Mark II was announced, and I was like, nope, don't like that. I was so distrustful of that company, and I'm so happy to be wrong. Granted, it took 3+ years for that shit to start shipping, which I was right about. I knew they weren't going to make their schedule. None of them do.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I did a Kickstarter for a fucking toy, and it still hasn't come out yet. So it's like, I get it.
I got burned out on video game Kickstarters because
Yes.
you get the game, they often promise more down the line. And, it's just like any major publisher. We promise that, here, buy this game at 60% finished, and we promise we'll take care of it for 10 years. Liars.
Right.
But with Kickstarters, it's like the games I was getting were okay, but then the studios would fold because they wouldn't sell enough. With board games,
Right.
smaller people can, you're getting the game. And with Kickstarter, if you meet the stretch goals, it's like, cool, you're just getting more on top of what you paid for. So I've been much happier with board games through Kickstarter. Video games I've stopped doing.
Yeah. Like there's an indie game that was being developed. It wasn't like a crowdfund or anything. He was just doing it as labor of love, and he basically took assets from like old wrestling games, like old WWE and WCW N64 games, and then basically turned it into a video gamer YouTube wrestle-a-thon. And he has characters from like all the major video gaming YouTube, like retro game collection enthusiasts and shit like that. And I am actually a hidden character in that game, which is great. I was like, oh shit! And the only reason that I was in there is because I was in the movie.
Are you the Akuma? Are you the Akuma?
No.
The most powerful, it's just at the end.
I wish, but no, it's not like that because again, it's a wrestling game, so
yeah.
Because all they have to do is slap a different face and different assets and stuff. It was very easy for him to do, and
just a color swap, palette swap.
Basically,
I will show you this. This is my pride and joy, and I got it this year. It's UK and Europe. It's a board game.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not sold in the US, which is stupid because we would eat this up. But it's expensive because they have Games Workshop, Warhammer stuff.
Yeah.
Super expensive.
Buddy of mine works for that company.
Yeah. And if you go through the UK one, their version of the game is very expensive. Everything through Italy is very cheap, which is how I've been able to grow my Micro Machine collection. They love collecting stuff, never opening them, and then selling them to us Americans for like pennies compared to what you get on eBay. But in UK, this is called Space Crusade. In Germany, Italy, Western Europe, it's called Star Quest. But it's a massive board game based on Warhammer.
Oh wow!
And it's got
Milton Bradley.
It's got 3 strike teams of Space Marines, tons of bad guys. It's a squared map with like 4 segments, really fun missions. Mm-hmm. And it's just the best board game I think has ever been made. And because I got it through Italy, I got the Star Quest instead of the Space Crusade. Same game, just the instructions are Italian. And I just bought the English instructions through eBay for cheap. But it's probably one of the best board games ever made. And I paid maybe $100 for this, which is like you're gonna be paying $300 to $400 if you get it through the UK. But it's
Now that you've mentioned it, I need to research and see if the vintage superpowers got released over in Italy, and if they got, say, the Hall of Justice, because you showed that boxed set that you have the Star Wars box set that you have a loose one of, but then you want to keep one sealed.
Yeah.
The Hall of Justice is that for me, I think.
And then
Because that's I need you to teach me Italian eBay, basically.
And what's great is like the miniatures, like you have Ultramarines, you have the Blood Angels, but the weapons pop out.
Oh, wow.
I haven't heated them. I'm not gonna do it because they were kind of delicate. But like you could swap out your standard bolt gun for like a big heavy missile launcher. Like it's so flexible. And it's a campaign system. So as you go through each mission, depending on how well you do, you get points, and you can spend those points for the next mission to get like an additional character or additional skills. So you can if you do well, the campaign gets easy. If you do poorly, the campaign gets tougher and tougher.
Gotcha.
And the person who's playing the bad guys also gets points, so he can spend it on bad stuff.
Hey, keep talking. I gotta step away for just a moment.
Oh no, I'm solo.
Yep. You can do it.
Yeah, I'll read the chat from here without pulling anything up. Hey Bjorn, I waited 4 years to get toys on one, and the other one got canceled. Oh, Kickstarter toys. Let's see. Shayna, the best laid plans of mice and men. They do what? If only regular Warhammer was like that. Was like the campaign system? I mean, you could if you felt like it. And what's nice about games like this, like Warhammer and stuff, is you can set the rules. Like Games Workshop gives you the basic rules on how these figures and vehicles and such interact. You and your friends can do what you want in your own living room. I will say I am interested in kill teams, which is like instead of big armies, you've got small squads, and there's objectives to play, but Warhammer is very flexible like that. There's a lot of options for it. Did I get everything? Oh, I was going to say, Ted earlier mentioned he had read Nintendo Power. He had played a lot of games because of Nintendo Power. I was the opposite, where I was a Nintendo boy, but my sister's boyfriend had a lot of PlayStation catalogs. Not catalogs, but like, their version of Nintendo Power, whatever it was called. I really got to know games like Resident Evil, even though I never got to play them because of those catalogs. Like it kept me up to date in the gaming zeitgeist, before I was even old enough to know that word. So it was nice because I felt like I was a well-rounded reader, because when I was young, I read all the time. I was very literate. But it was nice to have those catalogs to keep up with what's going on, because the internet was so new around that time. So having the PlayStation version of Nintendo Power, it was really nice to have on hand. Bjorn was talking about the minis having swappable parts. Oh, I get it. If regular Warhammer was like that. I gotcha. Yeah, there's no Game Workshop police. I mean, there's no police for anything. Once you buy it, it's yours and your friends. And if someone doesn't like it, they can suck an egg. I get it if you go to like a convention. If you're a card player, like Magic or something, you have to follow the rules because that's how it's structured. Once you're in your home, who cares? Do whatever you want. Have your own fun. PlayStation Magazine. Okay. Nintendo Power just sounds like, PlayStation Magazine. It sounds like, it's just a generic magazine for adults. Nintendo Power is what kids would be like, oh, that's so cool. I love that title. Yeah, this game though, like, I don't have all the pieces. Where is it? You can build like dreadnoughts. So like big beefy boys that your whole team has to work together to take down. And it's not a forgiving game. Space Crusade, you could easily get team wiped. and then you have to start the. You could still continue with the campaign. You would just have no points, and your opponent would have all the points.
Well done.
Oh,
I did not know if my headphones were going to reach, but they did. It's quite nice.
so you heard all the things I said about you.
Yeah, all true, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I
did find, just out of, if anyone was curious, that Motu board game is called Battlegrounds.
Mm-hmm. We covered it on the show a bunch of times.
Hmm?
We covered the pre-order a bunch of times on the show.
Yeah.
That was on the
it's on
fence.
Amazon, and it's sometimes you can find it on sale on Amazon. It's just.
The thing is, I won't,
because I'm about to pay off my student loans and then go look for a house. So it's like, if this was like a year or two ago, I'd be all over this.
Totally. And the thing is, you still will probably be able to get it around those prices, if not cheaper, by then.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I had to be, I had to put on my Ronnie Real hat when it came out, because I was like, am I really going to play this? And the answer I knew was no. So I'm just paying for a really ornate Motu box to have on a shelf. I'm like, I'm not doing that. At least not now. If I find it at like a yard sale or on clearance for like $50, like, of course I will buy it for that price. But because like I have a collector's edition of Destiny 2 in a big fucking box on top of my shelf in the living room, and the stuff in the box is way more visually interesting than the box, because the box has a white slip cover that says Destiny 2.
Yeah.
And it's like had that been like, it's such a waste of real estate. So I have a vision for a Destiny display in somewhere in my house when we get one. And of course, that box will be there along with all the little bits, so you can see everything. It's kind of like, this is this. And then the same thing with the Destiny 1 collection. This is this. And then have all the games laid out in such an ornate way. But for now, it's just like, it's just there. So one of my first orders of business, once we get this closet in working order as a closet, I'm going to transfer that game into that closet, because there's no reason for it to be on display. There's other stuff I could put up on that shelf that would be a lot more fun to look at each day, But
Sheena says, I saw a demo for Guar. Is Guar the game that's like...
Guar's the band.
I was going to say, isn't it... I think I've seen images where it's like Motu but grungy, or like more metal.
Well, Guar is... They have the look of like orcs, almost.
Okay.
But they're like orcs or fantasy. But the backstory of the band is that there's space aliens that have come to Earth to destroy it. It's a very simplistic storyline for this band. Guar is as much an art installation as it is a band. And free, I believe for free, on Prime Video, there's a documentary about the band called This Is Guar. And anyone who likes creativity and wants to understand the process of how you create something from nothing, it's a must-watch, even if you don't like the music.
That reminds me of... that sounds like a more metal version of Twerp. And I'm trying to remember the acronym. Tupperware Party TWRP. Remix Band. No, what was the P for? Party. Tupperware... Twerp is this funny band that dresses up all silly. They do a lot of stuff with Dan Avidan of the Game Grumps, but it's not his band, but it's a band he collaborates with a lot. But one guy dresses up like a lion, one dresses up in weird robot clothes. Reminds me of that other band that dresses up like Transformers.
I was just going to bring up Cybertronic Spree, yeah. Because they definitely have that thing going as well. I think the difference being that Cybertronic Spree, like, although they have their own lore to a degree, it's still based on Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whereas Guar is a completely original construct. So I'm gonna just blow this by you guys. I put it in our group chat for those that are that part of the Hangout Boys, but a lot of people in chat are not. I was a little crossfaded the other night, and when I have just enough CBD, THC in my system, and just enough alcohol combined, the crossfade is so nice, where I'm totally relaxed. My brain, like the anxieties shut off, and the creativity goes through the roof. And I was thinking about different ways to expand what I do creatively, whether it be, you know, reselling toys, doing videos, whatever. And I came up with an acronym for grind, and I thought it was brilliant. And it was so Grindhead's Retro Instant Nostalgia Destination, and it's pretty long, but it would be fun, you know, to like put, you know, grind with all the periods and shit, and then have the thing, you know. Whether that's for a live show or a storefront, I don't fucking know. But I thought it was the coolest little thing, because I am thinking more and more about finding ways to build up some sort of revenue stream that isn't e-begging. You know what I mean? Something that's, you know, I've got some stuff that I don't need. I've got extras of some stuff, and certainly at a certain point, it would behoove me to get like certain lots and start building up things of not just toys, but games and movies and stuff, and be able to sell it to people, and not do the scumbaggy thing of listing it on Amazon for whatever they're selling it for, and staying away from eBay and all its trappings, and like finding a way. So I was like, what do I name this fucking thing? And I was, I thought about instant nostalgia, and I was like, there's not a flair to that. I'm like, instant nostalgia depot. And then I was like, that's kind of cool. But then IND, I'm like, wait a minute, IND? All I have to think of is a G and an R, and I'm there. And it made sense to me. I don't know. Maybe I should switch out the Grindhead for like grotesque or gratuitous.
Gratuitous, yeah. Grotesque might be,
Yeah.
It's not quite in line with everything you do, but gratuitous could be.
Gratuitous is. I appreciate that.
It does remind me, because you brought up his name earlier, John Bain. For those of you who don't know, Total Biscuit.
Total Biscuit.
Way back 2010-ish era, when people were figuring out that YouTube was not a platform to get noticed, it was a platform to actually make money and become a professional.
Right.
It was John telling LA streamers, you know, those people you might have heard of, like Jesse Cox and Krendor and Game Grumps and all that. He was the adult in the gaming room at a time when every gaming outlet was acting like a child. You know, it's like, haha, shooters, silly, stupid. John Bain is the one sitting there be like, you got a plan. You need like 4 to 5 sources of income if you're going to make it. 1% of you is going to be this person who hits it off on a certain game and makes all your money. 99% of you better have like 3 or 4 sources of revenue from this new thing called Patreon or Twitch or...
Right.
When he explained it that way, I realized very young, it's like, I'm not going to be a YouTuber. I'm going to go and have a professional career outside of YouTubing, because I can't mentally do that kind of thing. It's not for me. But it taught me very early on, like, if you want to sell stuff, like, you got to have multiple outlets. You can't be tied to one thing, because just as we learn in geology and, you know, anthropology, the more specialized you get, any changes in your environment, you're the first thing to die off.
Exactly. And one of the things that I've been thinking about doing was like having that a couple dedicated things, and it's something that I've thought about in different ways, but it's starting to coalesce now, like how it could work. It's just a question of getting my ducks in a row before I pull the trigger instead of
Yeah.
just trying it and see if it sticks. Where you have, say, it's like Monday it is displaying our Dysfunction, pre-recorded, edited show, but has a live premiere that I can interact with, and then say maybe a Tuesday having like a Twitch stream with gaming, for example, and then having a Whatnot stream on Wednesday where I sell stuff, and then doing a more like a traditional collecting video on Thursdays, like the older stuff I used to do, and then taking Friday, Saturday, Sunday off or something, but having like this dedicated, I do this, and this, and then having and then saying like for all the editing, I do it from this time to this time on each specific day, and like, make a schedule out of it. If I did that, and then also, of course, made sure that patrons and members that are exclusive to each platform have their own little perks that actually get followed through on, that could be something. But I know how much I'm worth in the professional world, and I am not going to make that much money, no matter how hard I work on all these. However, we've been discussing certain financial avenues to when we buy a house, possibly getting to a point where we're able to just pay off a house very, very quickly. And if we're at that point where we own the house free and clear, well, then my income needs drop dramatically. Even more so if we get, say, solar panels with the house, which many of the houses we've looked at have. So, like, the strategies totally change, where it's like, if all I got to make is enough to, pay a water bill, if I have one, because I might have a well, and things, and, paying what little electricity or internet, and then food, it's like, then the game changes completely.
Wells are nice. Having come from Wyoming, everyone comes out thinking they're going to build a well, not realizing the Rockies are wet, but we're still a desert.
Right.
And so you still want to be connected to city utilities, at least with water, because we get precipitation. You see it up in the mountains. We really don't get a lot. It's just cold, so it sticks around. And people are like, well, I'll just build a well down in eastern Colorado or southern Wyoming. And it's like, that's not smart, because you're going to run out, because that aquifer doesn't fill up quick enough.
Exactly. Yeah. So like in Colorado, it would definitely be a hybrid system.
Yeah.
And then if we were staying here, depending upon where it is.
But the solar panels make sense, because in the Rockies, we're 300 plus days of sunshine a year, which is very confusing for... I work with a lot of people from all over the world. They get here and they're like, oh, it's January and it's blue sky outside. That means I can put on a light coat and no hat. And it's like, no, that just means it's blue sky and still negative 30. Put on your clothes.
Right.
But solar panels are very good. It's the water that's like the thing you have to have a mixture of sources.
But I think that the more renewable resources you get, the more realistic you are with your expenses and stuff like that. Like for example, there's a ton of things I've looked at where it's like, I'm never going to be a full-blown homesteader. Mm-hmm. No matter how much weight I lose, I know my body can't handle a lot of that hard work that I have to do. Because even if I weighed half of what I do now and built up my muscles, I know for a fact my knees aren't going to be able to take it. My back's not going to be able to take it. So I've got to be in maintenance mode. So it's about automating as much as I can and, degridding as much as I can in terms of cost, not necessarily infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because I got to make sure I view a well as something that, like, for example, in a non-emergency situation, let's say that I know it's going to be a lean month. Because let's say that I am making my money by selling things and streaming or whatever, and I know what my next month's income is going to be because there's a delayed payout. So that's the month, if I know I'm having a lean month, that's the month that I shut off the city water, just flip the switch as far as my source and go to well water for that month just to, that's where I think the intelligence comes in. I want to catch up with chat here real quick too. Shayna says the acronym makes sense to her, but she's doing dabs. I'm like, well, there you go. Like, see, it's the same thing. Melver says, Merry Thanksgiving. Merry Thanksgiving to you as well, sir. Newcastle, same thing. Thank you. And Bjorn with a scientific fact says, technically, Antarctica is also a desert. That is true.
Yep.
It's a cold desert, but it is.
We call it, up here, it's a high altitude desert. Antarctica is very different, but it's like we
Yes.
don't get a lot of precipitation. It just sticks. Like in Wyoming,
Right.
it will snow and it will just stay on the ground for 3 weeks because it doesn't get warm enough to melt. Or it melts a little bit and then it turns to ice, which is not a good thing. But
Yeah, and
people move to the Rockies and they're like, oh, there's going to be tons of water. It's like, no, stop moving here, you idiots. Go back to Texas. Don't move here. Not you specifically. It's just everyone from Texas is moving here because they want to get away from hurricane land. And it's like, no, we don't have enough water up here. Go away.
Right.
We
And
said that to the Californians. Now we got to say to you Texans and Floridians, don't come up here.
Well, and she and I have agreed that what we're going to need to do probably, I'm going to say like early February at the soonest. We're probably going to like fly out to Colorado Springs and then spend like 5 days out there in the Springs, then go down to Pueblo, go to Pueblo West, like get a feel for it and just see how we function in the altitude, frankly.
The altitude will be tough if you're coming from Texas. And 5 days won't be enough time to adjust.
No, but the thing is, if I get off the plane and it's like, that's really hard to breathe right away.
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
It's challenging because those first few days, your body won't have time to build up the blood supply to breathe that higher oxygen. Your lungs won't have time to develop the muscles to do it. It's going to be tough,
right.
But once you live here for a year, it does get progressivly easier. But I agree also, if you walk off the plane and you can't breathe, it's probably not going to be a good idea.
I agree, but the other, my flip side is that when we came to see you last year, like, even though we were only there for an hour or two, and then also we went to the hotel, stayed overnight, and then drove stopped a few times. I never got the feeling that I was going to pass out or anything, or like I didn't feel like it was much harder to breathe, but I also wasn't like doing a lot of heavy lifting either. So I am cautiously optimistic that it won't really matter. But we'll see. But if it's something where it's like, because also it's not just that, obviously, it's also like, let's get a look at a couple, because we have a couple houses that are like, this is really cool. There's more to it than the house being nice and looking at a map and seeing what seems close, but like actually going there and seeing like, okay, where is this really? Like, how does this really feel? Because here in Texas, I've got a very keen idea on where things are. I know exactly how I'm going to feel about proximity and shit.
If you move to Colorado, it's all going to be north and south. Because 25, everything's built on 25, and it goes north and south.
And obviously that part of it I'm very familiar with because that's my first experience in Colorado was that, where we were centered in Colorado Springs, but we went up to Denver, down to Pueblo, back to Colorado Springs on like a bus and stuff. So like I got a feel for like that, like this is the main strip of Colorado per se.
You'll get used to the interstate road. I don't know if you have similar things out east, but like having grown up in the West, there's things that are built on the interstate, and then there's always a parallel downtown
state road. Yeah, there's downtown or state roads. Yeah, East Pennsylvania definitely has that. Midwest has similar things.
But we're so underbuilt compared to the East that it's so much easier to navigate.
Yes, and that is a plus point, but also a sore point because when traffic levels are high, there's only one place. Yeah. So in that case, being a bit off the beaten path a little bit is actually an advantage because I don't have to deal with
communities. All the stores will be built along the interstate, and then the roads that go east and west connect to all the housing communities. So people living, this is the interstate. This is, from your point of view, this is west. People live here, and they take this road to get to all the shopping near the interstate. and then
Right.
they go back to their house. So it's
And that's
business
where
runs north and south, homes run east to west on that kind of a
and
grid.
that's more what I mean when I talk about specific houses and going and seeing what's nearby. Like in Pueblo West, like you know exactly what you're getting because Pueblo
Yeah,
West, pretty much you got a couple shops right there,
yeah,
and then you're going about 15 minutes east, and you've got all your big box stores, and they're
yeah,
right there. There's a bunch of great stuff there. Plus, you have Pueblo itself, which is small, big town,
yeah.
and it has it's almost all mom and pop in downtown, which is awesome.
And
So
Pueblo
it's like,
West has like they have a Walmart, but they also have like what they call it, the community Walmart, where it's just
mhm,
groceries.
yeah,
Like,
the neighborhood market.
yeah,
Like we have that here. So like right down the street from us, like a mile and a half, 2 miles tops,
you
we have
also
the neighborhood market, and then a couple miles further, you've got the super center.
yeah. Pueblo also has a
Oh,
really nice park because they have the zoo
yes,
down there, and there's a massive
yeah,
park that surrounds. It's like Denver, how we have the zoo and the big park around it.
yeah, and they have the reservoir and then the big park that surrounds it.
Hmm.
So some of the houses we're looking at are like north of a reservoir, some are south of a reservoir,
Yeah,
and then Colorado Springs has its own kind of vibe, but it is still very close to Pueblo,
yeah.
depending upon where you stay. So it's
If
like,
you when you do move, if you do move out there, or if you visit
mhm,
Colorado Springs, if you go west up into the
mhm,
mountains,
mhm,
I think the town is called Williams. I'm gonna double check. Um, there's a little mountain town to the west, Woodland
mhm.
Park.
Okay,
Has one of the best dinosaur displays. They have a dinosaur museum.
yeah, I've
What
heard about this one.
two
Yeah,
things are great. One, the dinosaurs are posed dynamically, so they're not just standing straight. Like the T-Rex has a junior Triceratops in its mouth,
I've seen a picture of it. It's awesome.
throwing it.
Yeah.
The dinosaurs are awesome, but they also have a room that is just wall-to-wall posters of old classic monster films, like
Hmm.
Harryhausen and stuff. And I walked in there and was like, "This is my goal. I have to have a room like this."
This is my Graceland, sir.
That's why I've
Yeah,
been
and
collecting those movie posters. I'm like, I gotta have
yeah,
one for Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. I gotta have one from, all these different creatures. So it's only like a half-hour drive west. Hi, Lauren.
my wife. She opened the door and didn't come in. She should come in and say hi, I think. Um, but I love you, dear. Um, I think everyone likes dinosaur museums, and if you don't, are you even living life? Um, I remember in Richmond, Virginia, 'cause I lived in Virginia for a long time. We went to the Air and Science Museum there in Richmond. This would have been like 85, 86 tops, and they had just this was the first of its kind, and they were one of the first museums to have this exhibit. It was animatronic dinosaurs, and as you walking into the place outside, there's I want to call him a Bulbasaurus, but that's not his name. It's the one with the big fucking dome on
Yeah,
his
I,
head.
I have the name in my head. I don't know how to pronounce it.
But he's there, and you walk up, and there's a motion sensor, and he just goes, and he's like over top of your head, and I almost shit my pants. I was like, oh my god, And then you see all the different dinosaurs. It was the coolest thing. And they had an
My
IMAX theater back when those were super novelty. And we saw this movie. It was exclusively shot underwater,
Ooh.
with the exception of the intro and the ending of the film. Everything was underwater, so you felt like you were in the ocean. And again, those seats are like on an incline like that, which, as someone who's afraid of heights, that's horrifying. But there's this one part where we're talking about different breeds of shark and how they operate and stuff. And there's a part where they're talking about feeding frenzies. And there's like, sometimes it gets to a certain point of the chaos, and shark will eat shark. And like, you just see this shark just get shredded. Like, it's one of the most brutal things I've ever seen. And honestly, I think that's where my love of horror movies started. I didn't even know it at the time. But it was such a cool experience. And so between the dinosaurs, which I was always obsessed with, and I love sharks and everything, being close to museums is really cool. When I lived in
Yeah.
Chicago, we went to the Natural Museum there. We went to the aquarium there as well. Only one time did I go, but they were great, and I loved them. We have them here, and I haven't gone. Lauren's gone with her family, but
If
with
you come
my
up this way, my first job in college was to work in the geology museum. So I can definitely give you a tour. It's cool because it has a full-size Apatosaurus, which is a long neck. It has Big Al, which if you ever watch Walking with Dinosaurs, he's an Allosaurus, so it's like a T-Rex but smaller.
yeah.
Sorry. But it also has some really cool stuff because like people don't realize certain animals developed on the North American continent around the Pleistocene at the point where America, a lot of Western America at a certain time was very green and lush and rainforesty. It was very marshy. Then the weather started to dry up, so a lot of that pushed away and it became trees. And then the trees started to spread out because it got drier and it formed grasslands. And that's when North America, developed horses and camels. Horses about the size of dogs. Camels, though, developed to be similar to what we think of before they traveled to the Eurasian plate through the land bridge. And then they died out in North America. Horses died out here, too. Early ancestors of horses. So we have, like, at the Geology Museum of Wyoming, we have miniature camel fossils and miniature dog horse fossils, just real small. Really cool stuff. I'd be happy to show that off. I want to go up there and talk to them about my trilobite display when I was trying to work on one because I collected some trilobites for them to put out. But yeah,
what I've heard about that particular geology museum is that it rocks.
I was looking at the cricket, and I was like, it's more awkward if I just don't say anything.
Yeah, that's that. I just wanted to let it sit there.
Oh, we did that
hang in the air
all the time.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
And they have merchandise, so I'll get you a shirt.
Oh, dude, if they didn't already have that shirt, like they should make it.
They have a fun display for kids. It's like a big sandbox and the overhead projector. And it's set up to where it's showing you a body of water. And if you move the sand in a certain way, the projector tries to fill in that level of
simulated water.
To fill in the gaps to show you how the water would move into it. So it demonstrates to kids how water flows and how rivers can form and dry up and get cut off and form lakes. And it's just this big sand pit. Kids are just like carving into it and watching, digital water flow through it. It's really fun.
Spoiler alert, kids. My good friend Jesse is passionate about knowledge, and that's my favorite thing about it.
I went to college for geology originally. But my passion was always history. So I shifted to, because everyone changes their major at least once. I changed to history and international studies because I saw there was more career paths for history and international studies.
Yeah.
But geology's always still been my passion.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what I think it's one of the funniest things to me is that you're a geology enthusiast that doesn't like getting stoned. Like that, I find that funny. I think that it's one of the best puns in the world. I love it. It's but I also understand it too.
Yeah.
I went from art teaching to music production, and then when I went back to college, 10 years later, organizational psychology, and then education with a focus on curriculum building. So I will never, ever criticize someone for changing their career path. As a matter of fact, I encourage it.
Yeah.
Because the more eclectic you can get your knowledge base and your experience, one, the more interesting a person you are. Two, the more marketable you are. Mm-hmm. And three, the more fulfilling you're going to find things that kind of combine a lot of those talents into one thing.
Well, as someone who works in higher education, like I can absolutely say, I think it's 2. The number is 2. 2 is the number of times that students will change majors throughout their career. Because when you go from high school, And we have to admit, as a nation, we don't prepare kids from high school to college or
No,
for
we do
careers in general. But when they get to college, it's really like, is this the career, like the field that's going to get me the jobs I want? And I don't know because I haven't learned enough to make that kind of like long-term decision. So as they go through it, they realize, well, really, I want to specialize in this. And then I want to specialize in this. And then they start to get a feel for what they really want around their like sophomore, junior year.
Yeah, it's and there's a billion guidance counselors that really mean well, and I remember even in my era, in the mid '90s, they tried really hard to make you see things from a pragmatic perspective, and they didn't always have access to the data that they needed either. Um, I often have thought to myself, man, if I could be like, if you could be like a guidance counselor, but be remote and work for several different schools across the country at the same time, and kind of do it that way to kind of like give people more holistic views of things, like that would be one of the coolest jobs in the world. To kind of tell me like, all right, I've been through the shit. Let's talk about it. I don't know. It's oh shit.
Stop
cool.
or I'll shoot, RoboCop.
Stop or I'll shoot. Yeah. We watched sometime this summer. We watched I watched RoboCop 2 over again. I used to watch it all the time. I didn't watch it again. Just the opening where they're showing all the failed prototypes of the second RoboCop.
That's sad.
My favorite one, of course, it has to be the and just falls over. Oh, it was such a shocking moment when I first saw it as a kid, but hey, Old Man of Cardboard is here. Welcome, sir. Welcome. It is good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend. And I love that Bjorn says the awkward silence was funny. That was the plan. I'm glad that, as usual, Jesse was ahead of the joke. I absolutely adore that shit.
I don't get phased.
Nah, you are very, for lack of a better word, you are the American equivalent of Zen, I think.
It helps going through college, being someone who doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, because in Wyoming, we have more bars than churches, which is a strange thing to have.
Makes perfect sense to me. It's just a different kind of worship, dude.
Yeah, but it also means like when you're going out at college, especially, everyone's like, do you want to try that? Everyone's trying to get you to try something to see if they'll spark a curiosity. And my friends eventually learned this, like, just leave them alone. But random people in the bar would find out and be like, God, try this and try this. And then they get mad that it became a game for me to to see how much I could just piss people off by just not going along with it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get ribbed because it's like, I don't care.
Well, like my buddy Shannon, who used to play drums for Black Dahlia Murder, he's 100% straight edge. He doesn't do anything. But he's also, and I don't think that there's a lack of correlation here, he's one of the best drummers on the fucking planet. Because that's what he focuses on. He focuses on fitness and having fun and playing drums really fucking well. And like he said multiple times, and specifically in a documentary they made, he's like, I don't care if they drink or smoke. Like, I'll pour them drinks. I don't give a shit. It's fun to watch. Because I think that's the secret of sobriety, is if you have friends that aren't sober that know how to handle their high and are just fun to be around. Unfortunately, as long as I have been around people who are imbibing, even as a child, you can point out the person like they shouldn't be doing as much as they're doing because this is not going to end well, kind of a thing. Yeah. I think every friend group or peer group has one guy that their name changes to Ralph about 12 o'clock at night. Like those, especially in college and that age and shit.
It definitely helped growing up, where my father, after Nam, he gave up alcohol. He told me all the stories of things they did. where alcohol was involved. Like, hey, it's 4th of July. We have all these tracer rounds. But he came home and sobered up and never touched alcohol again. So I just never grew up with it. So for me, it was just, I don't.
Yeah.
For me, soda is my addiction. It's my only vice, really, because it's the
And
only other
I
option
get
I
it.
had growing up.
Well, like growing up, there was always alcohol around, but my dad, like I've said again, I've probably said this a billion times, but like Dad could buy a case of beer that would last him a whole football season. He was that guy, and he had a liquor cabinet, but I didn't identify it as such until I was already drinking. It never occurred to me that the bottom shelf of the hutch that no one ever touched had stuff in it, right? And I remember on the weekend of my 21st birthday, like my actual 21st birthday, I spent with my folks. They bought me a case of my favorite beer at the time, which was MGD, because it's a great beer. And I said, I'm not drinking alone. Well, I had a couple friends over. But I said, Ma, Dad, I want you each to drink with me. Just have a drink with me. Because I know they drank. They didn't drink a lot. Mom made herself a fuzzy navel and just had the ingredients. She just pulled out the fucking peach schnapps and the vodka. I'm like, how long have you had that? She goes, almost as long as you've been alive. I'm like, really? I'm like, wow. And Dad's like, you realize that hard alcohol doesn't spoil, right? I'm like, I know that now. He says, wine, not so much, and beer, not so much, but liquor, you can keep it forever. I'm like, you can keep it forever. They had a very different outlook on it at all times and stuff. And my dad swore up and down he'd never been drunk. And although I believed him when he said it, looking back, I'm like, I doubt that. I think that he probably got drunk once and it was horrible and decided never to go back, but have a couple drinks.
His definition of drunk may have also been, he may have never been that drunk.
Right.
That guy. He may have been intoxicated, but never.
Yeah.
And we don't.
And I do know that I would be witness, especially on Thanksgiving and Christmas around those holidays. You know, we'd all be in the same place, and there was like, I called them the Four Horsemen. You know, my uncle Cork, my uncle Jim, my dad, and then there was always a fourth. Sometimes it was my cousin Carl. In later years, it was my cousin Jeff, but there was always a fourth person, and those four guys would pace, about a beer an hour or more. And as I got older, that I started to recognize who was drinking more than everybody else, and then I became the fourth horseman, especially when I was coming home from from the Marines and stuff like that. And I would go through like 7-8 beers without even breaking a sweat, which, that is what it is. And I was always good at handling it, around family anyway. But, it's part of it for me. As a matter of fact, I'm 99% sure that we don't have any beer in the house. I probably should order some, just a 6-pack or something, because that's part of the day for me. To just kind of, while you're waiting for the meal to cook, have a couple beers and just chill. So we have something special planned for today, and I'm going to close the show on this. Our plan, back in 90 or 91, I don't remember which year, I'm pretty sure it was 91, USA Network had a marathon, 2 separate days of 3 hours in the afternoon, of all the 1977 Spider-Man live-action TV shows. And I recorded it both days, commercials and all. And the tapes are in really good shape. I haven't watched them in forever. Today, we're going to marathon those while we're cooking and talking and shit. Just mainly because we're excited for the commercials, frankly. I don't know how long we'll actually make. Am I really going to sit through 6 hours of that shit? Probably not. But I'm excited for the prospect of doing that, because she's never seen the live-action Spidey TV show stuff. And that was from when she was real small, so it'll be nostalgia, but also something new for her, too.
Yeah.
I love having...
Oh, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that like I love having a television in today's day and age that has analog hookups in it. Like when I bought that television in early 23, and I bought it specifically because of that, but also just like the the sheer genius that they are still including those on televisions is just ugh. No, John, it's not Japanese Spider-Man as well. It's just the Nicholas Hammond stuff.
What about the
But again,
Italian
it was
Spider-Man?
what does he shoot? Spaghetti? Manja! It's,
You haven't seen
you
Italian
know,
Spider-Man?
no.
It's a one-off video. It's a one-off video on YouTube. It's silly, early mid 2000s silliness.
Okay, we'll have to check it out.
I am going to be watching. I don't think you've watched Arcane yet.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to be watching Arcane season 2 later in December when I feel like I want to be depressed. That stuff. Arcane is one of the
Dark.
best video game shows because it has nothing to do with the actual game. It's just characters. But it's one of the best like dramas I have watched in so long. But it's really heart wrenching, and so it's like I have to be in the right headspace to watch it.
Have you've seen The Batman, right?
Which one?
The Batman, like the one with Robert Pattinson in it.
Oh! No, I have not yet seen it.
Okay. Do you have Max?
I have nothing. I usually in December I download or I start 1 or 2 subscriptions because I have a week off.
Okay. I know that a Black Friday deal that Max has going right now is $2.99 a month for 6 months. So it might be worth doing. I will say that The Batman is really, really, really good. And then they did The Penguin, which is like a TV show of that. And it takes the approach of like a Scorsese gangster film almost. Like takes a little bit from The Sopranos, a little bit from Goodfellas, and a lot from The Batman, but it focuses on the Penguin. When I heard about it, I was like, how good could this possibly be? And then we binge watched the whole thing in a day. Like we just sat down and did it because, man, is that good. If you've ever liked a Martin Scorsese film and you have any love for like a gritty Batman universe, dude, like it is so worth it. And that goes for all of you guys too. Like if you haven't watched The Penguin, go watch it. Like seriously. World Cobra says, what about the Indian Superman with the lady dressed as Spider-Man? Yeah, the Bollywood stuff. There's some great rip-off stuff. In fact, I should probably have a show about this sometime. However, Jesse, thank you for being here, keeping me company. Definitely kept the stream going longer than I expected. But I will be in touch vis-a-vis all things fun. But I love your face, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. We'll see you soon. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, everyone.
But yeah, guys, I've been live for almost 3 hours and 15 minutes. I think it's plenty. And again, all respect and thanks to Jesse for coming on. I really, really enjoyed his company. And I enjoyed all of your company too. Like we've kept pretty steady numbers the whole time, so it means a lot. I will be doing more of these, not just holidays and stuff. It's just getting to a point where I'm more comfortable in the space because, again, I got to get all this stuff taken care of. In the coming weeks, I'm going to get more of that done. I've got a big haul of stuff waiting for me at the mailbox, including my classified Dragonfly, which I have no fucking idea where I'm going to put it. But stuff will be coming soon. We'll get there. Wolfie, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And yeah, John, I know. Like I got to start over. Well, the good news is you can just go back and watch because there's no particular topic. We're just talking, having a great time. I hope you enjoy it. But yeah, I've had a great time. This was truly a lot of fun for me. But I will see you guys soonish. Okay. But I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful holiday or Thursday. All my love to all my friends that weren't here, especially Jim Largo and Boba Hicks and who are my co-hosts now, and and everybody else in the Grindiverse. Okay, you guys have a great, 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 great day. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you when I see you, which is hopefully soon. Take care, guys. Cheers.